Chapter 303. To prevent himself from getting beaten up, Zero's agent hurriedly pulled him over. If Zero continued, they would be kicked off the spaceship. He tactfully reminded Zero that there was something wrong with what he had just said and that it would give everyone bad ideas. Zero's agent also reminded Zero not to forget what he had promised the Lijo governor's office to get along well with the cast and crew and not to put on airs as a young master. After that, the passenger cabin once again descended into silence. Zero's words had made many people feel uneasy. Some things that they had overlooked were recalled, and the more they thought about it, the more nervous they became. The cast and crew of Founding Era had been very high profile from the start, perfectly displaying the domineering attitude of a king of the main theme. According to the cast and investors, because of the special significance of this series, they could not be timid and timid. They had to be firm and unyielding. They could not shrink back. The cast and crew's actors had also expressed to the public that they were playing great people. They were artists who shouldered the mission of creating milestones. They would work together with the rest of the cast and crew to bravely face all difficulties and threats. There was no need to be secretive. They just had to take off from here in an open and above-board manner. We have nothing to fear. If you can't accept it, we'll fight. In reality, a cast and crew with a special significance like Founding Era would attract the attention of the public, but it would also attract some people with ill intentions. From the spaceport until the spaceship's departure, the troops stationed at Huangzhou Spaceport had fended off 3 waves of terrorist attacks targeting the cast and crew. It was just that no one knew about it, and the public did not know either. Not long after the spaceship took off, it suddenly jolted abnormally. The cast and crew in the passenger cabin were alarmed. What's going on? In the past, when we took transport ships to planet-wide to film, we never encountered such a situation. Spaceship malfunction? The passenger cabin was made up of many small cabins and large halls. Every small cabin had many berths. On Fangzhou's side, the berths of the Silver Wing crew were also connected, so they were in the same cabin. After the spaceship started to move abnormally, they also started to feel uneasy. Brother He, should we go and ask? Someone asked He Lizzy with a pale face. He Lizzy was the leader of Silver Wing's side. Yeah, Teacher He, let's send someone to the large hall to ask about the situation. How about I go? I'll go too. He Lizzy frowned deeply. Hearing the words of the people around him, he raised his hand and waved. He Lizzy glanced at his assistant again. The assistant understood and left to find out more information. Ji Polan, who had also gotten a small role in the cast, walked over to Fang Zhao and asked in a low voice, Big Brother Zhao, what do you think is going on? Fang Zhao shifted his gaze away from the composition notebook. I believe the military escorts will be able to resolve this. Someone beside Fang Zhao curled his lips. He was very dissatisfied with Fang Zhao's reply. Soon, He Lizzy's assistant returned and shook his head helplessly. Just now, someone opened the door of the cabin area and wanted to go out to ask about the situation, but he saw a group of armed soldiers guarding the passage outside the door. The soldiers outside the door heard the sound of the door opening and looked over coldly. The foot that was about to step out of the door shrank back. When the others in the cabin saw this situation, they also dispelled the idea of going out to gather information. Go back to your seats. Actors, if you have nothing better to do, read the script and memorize your lines. Try to figure out your roles. Roman said in an unpleasant tone. After all, the older ones had experienced more things and were calmer than the younger ones. Some of the older actors said to the restless younger ones, Come. Let's study the script together. The younger actors were not happy. Given the current situation, who would be interested in the script? An executive director of the cast looked at the group of young actors scurrying about and snorted. Do you really think it's that easy to get into this cast? Have you guys seriously read the contract? It clearly states that there will be a certain level of danger during this shoot. Hearing this, some people were at a loss, some looked pensive, and some had a look of understanding. Clearly, not everyone had carefully read the contract. When they had signed the contract, they had felt that they would be able to make a name for themselves and obtain many benefits. Who knew that the fame and fortune that came with Founding Era was not so easy to reap? A young man trembled and asked, Then, should I write a will or something? You youngsters, what will? An older actor laughed and shook his head. I wrote one long ago. The group of young actors. Fortunately, this small incident did not last long and soon died down. Nothing similar happened after that. When everyone finally arrived at the Y Spaceport's parking area and stepped onto dry land, what welled up in their hearts was not the unbearable excitement of the upcoming filming of Founding Era, nor was it the curiosity of the new environment and filming location. Instead, it was a long sigh of relief. They had finally landed alive. Upon arriving at their destination, the mood of the cast and crew quickly relaxed and they started chatting. I just heard that a bomb was defused while the spaceship was in motion. Perhaps it happened during that period of intense turbulence. I was scared to death. When the spaceship just set sail, there was even an idiot who said inauspicious things. My heart was hanging in my throat until now. As expected, historical missions are not easy to complete. This is the first time I discovered that filming is so dangerous. Luckily, there was a military escort. Otherwise, my little life would have been forfeit. Joining this cast and crew is worth it. How many people have filmed their entire lives and never had the chance to enjoy such treatment? It really wasn't easy. I feel like my whole body is glowing with a sacred light. Let me take a picture first. The cast and crew did not linger at the spaceport for long. Numerous flying transports were arranged to transport the cast and crew to the filming base in batches. The filming base for Founding Era was located in a different location from the Y Film Studio complex. The first batch of people that arrived at the filming base entered the dormitory area and found their own rooms based on their assigned room numbers. Rooms were allocated according to the importance of the characters. The dormitory area ranged from single suites to shared rooms for 10 people. Daily necessities were all provided. How many years has it been since I've stayed in this kind of dormitory? Someone sighed as he looked at the dormitory building. Of the sound effects team, the genius violinist Faye Harmonic, who was one of the first batch to arrive at the residential area. After setting up his things in his assigned room, he couldn't help but walk to a slope outside the residential area. Tossing his elegant, fiery red hair that reached his shoulders, he gazed at the yellow sand in the distance. A new environment always stimulated the brain cells, causing Faye Harmonic's emotions to surge. His mind was bursting with inspiration. It was as if countless notes were restless in his mind, but if he didn't play them, he wouldn't be able to calm his restless heart. Excited, Faye Harmonic raised his hand to the side. "Bring the violin." After shouting, he suddenly remembered that he hadn't brought an assistant this time. There was no one to help him carry the violin, so he hurriedly ran to the dormitory building to retrieve the violin and once again climbed up the slope. Faye Harmonic slowly closed his eyes and gazed at the heavy clouds and yellow sand in the distance. At this very moment, I am like a lonely whale in the deep sea, surrounded by dogs. Faye Harmonic cursed under his breath and raised his leg to retreat. Unfortunately, someone was faster than him. Faye. Zero sprinted over, waving excitedly. "Faye Harmonic, are we that close?" The nickname Faye had sounded familiar to him when he had heard the fans shout it, but now it suddenly felt disgusting. Faye Harmonic's hand trembled as he watched Zero run over. His mind was weighing the consequences of swinging the violin at Zero. "Forget it. I'll just bear with it. I can't afford to offend him, and I can't bear to part with the violin." Zero was completely unaware of Faye Harmonic's dilemma. He recalled his agent reminding him to be friendly and amiable, and not to throw a tantrum. Zero immediately put on a refined and courteous expression. "I've always had a question, but I'm not sure if I should say it." Faye Harmonic, who knew Zero's nature, didn't have the time to stop him before Zero asked, "How do you guarantee that you won't cut your hair every time you play the violin like crazy?" "Faye Harmonic, why don't you fucking explode on the spot?" Ignoring Zero, Faye Harmonic turned around and left the slope without a word, cursing in his heart, "What bad luck." Just as he reached the bottom of the slope, Faye Harmonic saw a gorgeous figure walking out of the residential area. The weather here wasn't good, and sand was everywhere. Barbara was wearing a princess gown, holding an umbrella in one hand and her skirt in the other. Beside her was her assistant, who was carrying a bag and clearing the way. Against the backdrop of her surroundings, Barbara was like a rose that had suddenly bloomed in the middle of a dry desert. Faye Harmonic looked like he had stepped in shit. Would it kill him not to act pretentious when he was already here? What bad luck. He shouldn't have gone out today. On Faye Harmonic's blacklist, Zero was number 1, and Barbara was number 2. Unfortunately, he couldn't afford to offend either one of them. Faye Harmonic walked into the residential area with a sour expression. When he raised his head, he saw Feng Zhao dragging his suitcase. Faye Harmonic immediately pulled a long face. 3 consecutive strikes of bad luck. The last person he wanted to see was Feng Zhao. Because of Feng Zhao, his fans were advising him to enter the film industry and act in TV series. If a composer like Feng Zhao could act, why couldn't their Faye Harmonic enter the film industry? Faye Harmonic's response was, "Heh, do I look like someone who is half-hearted?" Actually, he had thought about it, but he had high aspirations. If he was going to act, he would play the lead. And it had to be a big production, or else it wouldn't match his status. Faye Harmonic also participated in a few variety shows to show his face, tease his fans, promote his solo concert, and so on. But when it came to film, he hadn't found a role that suited him and satisfied him. Originally, he had been thinking about lowering his standards, but after this incident with Feng Zhao, he couldn't lower his standards. His pride wouldn't allow it. This made Faye Harmonic feel like he had been suppressed. Naturally, he didn't have a good expression when he saw Feng Zhao. With a cold snort, he left with a straight face. Feng Zhao raised an eyebrow. Originally, he had wanted to interact with this talented violinist, but now it seemed like he wouldn't be able to. Because of his role, Feng Zhao had been allocated a single suite. Now, this area had internet coverage. After checking the news online, the rest of the cast and crew started to post photos. Feng Zhao first informed his friends and family that he was safe and sound. Then he contacted Yin Biao and Zhuoyu. The two of them would also be coming over to the film studio complex. Furthermore, the paperwork for Curly Hair was almost complete. When the time came, the two of them would bring Curly Hair over. Chapter 304. For the general public, there were only 2 types of actors left: those who had gone to Planet Y and those who had been eliminated. As for the actors who were already filming at the Y Film Studio Complex, regardless of whether they had been selected for the cast or not, they would still freeload. In any case, they were also on Planet Y, and people who did not know the truth would really think that they had played some important roles in Founding Era. Not everyone knew that the Y Film Studio Complex and the filming location of Founding Era were not in the same place, and many people had been deceived. The day the cast and crew arrived on Planet Y, the internet was abuzz. Many people who had not been able to go to Planet Y were filled with envy and jealousy. That day, the headlines of every continent in the world were practically dominated by people and matters related to Founding Era. The netizens were also very happy to see it. The celebrities scrambled to show off their photos, more or less with the intention of showing off. The netizens were eager to see more excitement. But very quickly, the members of the cast and crew went silent. Only the Founding Era officials posted some superficial news every day. The netizens who were waiting to watch the drama were dissatisfied. What about publicity? Where's the trailer? He didn't even say when he would be released. There weren't even any stills. All the big stars fell silent. Regarding this, the official explanation given by Founding Era was that the entire production team had disconnected from the internet and was in a closed period. The netizens of the new era, whose daily life was inseparable from the internet, couldn't help but sympathize with the cast and crew. How ruthless. The entire production team has lost internet access. If it were me, cutting off my internet connection is the same as cutting off my livelihood. That's why I don't want to serve in the military. How am I supposed to survive if I'm assigned to a small place with no internet? You still have the energy to surf the internet during your military service? Speaking of which, it's rare for a crew to cut off their internet connection, right? As expected of the king of the main theme crew, they're different from the other coquettish actors. I wonder when I'll be able to see those celebrities' photos again. Without them, the entire entertainment industry would be miserable. Over on Planet Y, the cast and crew had indeed entered a closed-door period, but filming had yet to officially begin. When Founding Era had announced its reboot, the entire Planet Y had been on high alert, and the military had definitely expanded. The purpose of the troops accompanying the cast and crew was not just to protect the safety of the cast and crew. Nearly two-thirds of the troops would be incorporated into the Y base's military. All in all, the people of Y base were happy that the founding Arab film project was going to be established on Planet Y. After filming ended, the filming location would be renamed Founding Era Cultural Cinema City. As a major tourist attraction on Planet Y might even be able to apply for a second film production base. In the future, when Planet Y was open to the outside world, Planet Y would not be afraid of people coming. It would be afraid that no one would come. Only with a flow of people could there be investment, income, and military expenses could be guaranteed. In the future, when he applied to expand the army, it would be more likely to be approved. He would definitely be promoted and become rich. The filming location for Founding Era had originally been abandoned by Planet Y's development plans. This area did not have a name, only a district number. But now, it was a mystical place. Even though it was just a tiny corner of Planet Y's vast territory, it was about to become a mark of history. The reason they had chosen this location for filming was because it was similar to the period of destruction, with its harsh weather and terrible environment. There were many places on Planet Y that had 4 distinct seasons, and there were plenty of places that were warm and humid all year round. However, on this planet, it seemed like there were only 2 seasons in a year. There was basically no transition between winter and summer. When the weather was neither hot nor cold, sandstorms would roll in. The crew settled down at the filming location. Since they had just arrived, they were tired and had many restrictions, so they didn't walk around. The next day, the directing team held a meeting and gave everyone in the cast and crew a schedule. For the actors, they had a week to get used to the new environment, learn how to use props, and do all sorts of preparatory work. The schedule clearly stated that it would be a closed management. Once they entered this area, they could forget about leaving before filming wrapped up. If they wanted to leave, they would have to apply in advance. Also, they could forget about sneaking out to have fun. There were military personnel around, and if they weren't careful, they would be treated as criminals and shot to death. Every 7 days, they would be given 2 hours of internet time. The rest of the time, they would not be able to access the internet. When Zero saw this, he almost fainted. How do we survive without the internet? Older actors had experienced a lot and had encountered similar situations in the past. Even though it had not been as strict, they had experienced the treatment of being disconnected from the internet and could more or less adapt. Younger actors found it a little harder to endure. Fang Zhao did not have much of an opinion. In his previous life, he had experienced even longer periods of disconnection. Even in this life, when he had been serving on Planet Baiji, he had also been unable to access the internet for a long period of time. His dependence on the internet was not as strong as his peers. The next day, after receiving the schedule, Fang Zhao and the rest of Silver Wing went to the designated area. There were professionals there to guide them on how to use the props. The props instructor was not the least bit courteous to these celebrities. Back then, people were forced to do so on the battlefield. Regardless of whether it was in terms of killing or escaping, they were all extremely valiant. Any one of them could leap 8 meters with a single kick. Can you guys do that? If you can't, then familiarize yourself with the usage of the props. Don't hold us back when filming officially starts. No one will wait for you. He's not an athlete. How can he leap 8 meters with a single kick? Someone muttered. If there was a dog chasing me, I might really be able to leap 8 meters with a single kick, someone joked. The props instructor did not pay attention to this group of actors' private discussions. He continued to explain the usage of each type of props at his own pace. Whether they listened attentively or not was not something he could control. Originally, Fang Zhao did not need to, but after thinking about it, he felt that he could not be too detached from the crowd. It was better to behave more normally. When others used props, he used them too. It was good to familiarize himself with the usage. As he memorized every type of props that the props instructor introduced, Fang Zhao sighed in his heart. The convenience brought about by technology is indeed astonishing. After the props instructor was done, the props instructor left. He still had other tasks, so the group of actors stayed behind to practice. Ji Polan ran over to look for Fang Zhao. Big Bro Zhao, Shall we go to the cast and crew's dining hall or the gourmet street? Why don't we head to the dining hall for lunch and then head to the gourmet street in the afternoon to try Planet-wide specialties? The so-called gourmet street was a street built on the edge of the filming location. Most of the businesses were family members of Y-Base's military personnel. The investors and cast and crew provided employment opportunities for the family members and brought sizable income to Planet Y. The Y garrison also took good care of this place. A powerful dragon could not suppress a local snake. No matter how much power they had elsewhere, they still had to establish good relations with the garrison on Planet Y. This was the territory of Y-Base's commanding officer, Hua-yi. If the cast and crew encountered any trouble, they still had to seek help from the Y garrison. For the cast and crew, compared to the dining hall, the gourmet street was definitely more attractive. The difference was that the cast and crew's dining hall was free for all 3 meals, while the gourmet street had to pay their own way. Of course, celebrities did not lack this bit of money. Couldn't they find some other entertainment if they were not allowed to use the internet? There were only so many hobbies in life. We have to eat more. We definitely won't get fat if we grind out in this godforsaken place for a few days. If we really eat the same amount as before, we will be wasted before filming even starts, Ji Polan said. We have to seize the time to eat more before filming starts. Fang Zhao agreed with this statement. Before the prop instructor had left, he had also told them, eat as much as you can. If your appetite is not good, you have to stuff more. When it was lunchtime, Ji Polan threw down the prop he was holding and ran over to find Fang Zhao for lunch. He looked so anxious, as if he was afraid that Fang Zhao would run off on his own. A few other young actors from Silver Wing who were on the same level as Ji Polan looked at Ji Polan with disdain and then eagerly followed. Big brother Zhao, bring me along. Count me in. Me too, me too. Those who could squeeze into the founding-era cast and crew were not fools. They could see clearly that He Lizhi was the head of the Silver Wing team, but there were too many people on He Lizhi's side. Small fries like them, who were B-grade and below, could not squeeze in. They might as well hang out with Fang Zhao like Ji Polan. In any case, Fang Zhao was about the same age as them. They had common topics to talk about and were more at ease. The few of them thought to themselves, even if they were not smart, the agents behind them would surely have their ways. Before coming over, their respective agents had given them pointers. If they were not smart, they should just watch how smart people did things and follow suit. Ji Polan had been doing better and better these past few years. In the eyes of many people, he was a smart person. Fang Zhao could see through the thoughts of these people, but as long as they did not have any bad intentions, he would take care of them if he could. In his eyes, these people were just a bunch of kids. Fang Zhao brought the bunch of kids to the large dining hall for lunch. In his mind, he went over all the matters he had on hand. Everything has been arranged. No problem. On the other side, at the spaceport outside Earth, a transport ship that was about to deliver supplies to Planet Y was parked there. Yin Biao and Zhua Yu were not in the passenger cabin. Instead, they were in a separate room allocated to them, staring at each other. They had followed Fang Zhao's instructions and brought curly hair and all sorts of paperwork to board the ship. Fang Zhao was one of Planet Y's first collaborating partners. Planet Y commanding officer Hua-yi had given him a green pass, but bringing a dog along meant that he had to go through all sorts of tests to prevent him from carrying germs. There were a lot of procedures, and he had only obtained a Y pass since August. Furthermore, it was a single-use pass. When he returned from Planet Y, he would have to apply for another pass. However, Yin Biao and Zhua Yu were able to enjoy such good treatment in a separate room because of curly hair. When they had boarded the ship, the cargo hold had been loading goods. Curly hair had smelled something dangerous. It was some toxic goods. Despite the layers of security checks, a small handful had actually slipped through. How had they evaded security checks? The inspectors in charge of the spaceport were furious. Investigate. Investigate thoroughly for me. Who exactly was it? Which step had gone wrong? Meanwhile, on the transport ship, they were only concerned about whether there were any problems with the goods being loaded into the cargo hold. Most of these goods were for the founding-era cast and crew. If any celebrities were poisoned, they would also be done for. There was also a police dog that passed by just now. Why didn't it smell anything? Someone was puzzled. There were 20 elite dogs selected from Muzhou's Police Dog Academy at the spaceport for the specific purpose of searching the spaceport. Police dogs and technology were double insurance. However, even this double insurance couldn't guarantee 100% safety. That's weird. How did that dog sniff it out? The staff on the spaceport discussed. Someone was stunned by the search results online. This dog is ranked 5th on the global pet market. It's worth over 200 million. I think it's better than the new 200 million security checks the spaceport bought. I already said that the new batch of machines at the spaceport wouldn't do. Look, there's a problem. I didn't understand why a dog was so expensive in the past, but now I understand. It's worth it. The captain of the transport ship ran over to find Yin Biao and Zhuo Yu. Lend me your dog again. Yin Biao and Zhuo Yu were in a dilemma. Could their boss's dog be lent out so easily? Of course not. But this was someone else's transport ship. They still had to board this transport ship to Planet Y. Fang Zhao's network was cut off, and they couldn't be contacted. It wasn't impossible to contact him, but if it wasn't an especially important matter, there was no need to use those connections. The two of them thought about it and decided to lend it. It wasn't a big deal. We can lend the dog, but we have to follow, Yin Biao said. The captain refused. No way. There are many places on the ship that non-internal personnel can't enter. You guys better wait here. Don't worry. I will personally lead the dog and patrol the various cabins before returning it. It's just a dog. How can I not return it after borrowing it? Since things had come to this, Zui Yu and Yin Biao could only agree. Curly Hair didn't seem unwilling either. The captain happily lent the dog to patrol the various cabins and even allocated a room for Yin Biao and Zui Yu. They were provided with good food and drinks. Zui Yu stared at the ceiling. It feels like we. Chapter 305. Founding Era Filming Area. After a day of studying props and familiarizing himself with the venue, Fang Zhao brought Ji Polin and the others to the gourmet street for a meal in the afternoon. There are indeed a lot of things in this gourmet city, but the prices aren't low. A young actor looked at the prices on the menu and said, "Does the Bureau of Commodity Prices manage this area?" It doesn't seem to matter. There were a lot of choices on the food street, but the prices were expensive. But thinking about it, these vegetables had all been grown on Planet Y's farmlands. They were all grown naturally, had no added hormones, and were not synthetic ingredients, so the taste was pretty good. Most importantly, many of these fruits and vegetables had only existed during the old era. It was said that after they were bred on Planet Y, they were only available on Planet Y. Therefore, eating these dishes was to show off. When all the dishes were served, Fang Zhao had just picked up his chopsticks when he heard Ji Polin say, "Big Brother Zhao, hold on. Let me sterilize first." As he spoke, he took out his equipment and took pictures of the dishes on the table. He even took a few pictures from different angles. Can't you take some photos and save them if you don't have internet? When it was time to go online a week later, he would go online and show off. Okay, the disinfection is complete. You can eat now. Wait, let me take a few pictures too. I was so hungry that I almost forgot about it. Please wait a moment. I'll take a selfie. Other than Fang Zhao, the other 7 people were taking pictures of the dishes on the table and taking selfies from all sorts of angles. Fang Zhao thought for a bit and took a picture of the table. It wasn't because he wanted to show off on the internet like everyone else thought, but because he remembered great-grandfather Fang had asked him to take a picture of the food here. Great-grandfather Fang wanted to know how Fang Zhao was eating here. He would send it to great-grandfather Fang when the internet was connected. "Big Brother Zhao, let's take a picture together." Ji Polin leaned over to fawn over. "Let's do it together." The others also squeezed over. The 8 of them took a group photo together. Fang Zhao involuntarily flashed a grandfatherly smile at the camera. Over the next few days, Fang Zhao ate at the cafeteria for lunch. As it was close by, he would head to the gourmet street for a meal after completing his study assignments in the afternoon, reminiscing about the old era. The staff of the cafeteria, the shop assistants, and the chefs of the food street were mostly family members of the military. Some of them were also fans of celebrities. At first, they were very excited to see celebrities. This place was truly a gathering of heroes and stars. He really wanted to brag about it online. Have you ever seen 40 to 50 best actors and best actresses acting together? I've seen it before. Have you ever seen 8 S-list A-listers eating hot pot together? I've seen it before. Heavenly kings, heavenly queens, celebrities, superstars, we have them all here. Ha ha ha. The shop assistants and staff here were either the kind of people who knew their place, working quietly and not saying anything, or they were the kind of people with high EQ who were smart and knew what to say and what to do. Those who were restless and thought that they were smart didn't even come here. Therefore, there were no photos that damaged the celebrity's image leaked out. The photos were also taken with the consent of the celebrities. But soon, the situation changed. For example, when a cafeteria worker first saw a celebrity, it was like this, XX best actor / best actress / goddess, hello? Can I have your autograph? One day later, please wait for a moment. Your dishes will be ready soon. Can we take a photo together? Excited. Another day. Coming. Oh, another day. Line up. I'm talking to you. Why are you still looking? In less than a week, the staff of the cafeteria had changed their attitude towards these influential movie stars from rare animals to as many as dogs. Now, when they saw the stars again, their hearts didn't waver. Over the next few days, a small group had formed around Feng Zhao. Sometimes, they would eat together. Silver Wing's side was split into 2 groups. One was led by He Lizi, and the other was led by Feng Zhao. The former group consisted of Yinzhou's A-list actors and a few older veterans, while the latter group consisted mainly of second- and third-rate young actors. There were many small groups like theirs, and the larger group was formed very quickly. Founding Era was a large project. It was large because it was made up of 11 chapters. During the Founding Era, there were 11 great generals, and these 11 chapters revolved around these 11 main characters. Every chapter had an executive director. For the Yinzhou chapter, the executive director was called Bai Duan, who was also a famous director. Roman was rarely seen, but Feng Zhao saw Bai Duan every day. Some of the tasks he had were also assigned by Bai Duan. Due to Yinzhou's special nature, Feng Zhao's role in the opening chapter was rather heavy. Therefore, Bai Duan often sought Feng Zhao out for a chat and assigned him many tasks before filming officially started. The dormitory was some distance away from the filming location, and there was a shuttle at a fixed time every day. It wasn't a public bus that could be seen everywhere in the new era. Instead, it was an armored version of a MCV. It was bulletproof and resistant to the elements. Even a hail the size of a fist wouldn't hurt the passengers inside. Of course, even if the environment here was vile, it wasn't that extreme. The cast and crew were here to film, not to play a survival game. Today, Feng Zhao took the morning bus to the filming location. Today, he had a few places to visit. Director Bai wanted him to understand more about Feng Zhao's working environment. When Feng Zhao arrived, Director Bai was instructing people to move some equipment. When he saw Feng Zhao, Director Bai called out to someone, "You there. Bring Feng Zhao to Film Studio Y71. G. Poland appeared out of nowhere. Director Bai, let me go. I know where Film Studio Y71 is. Director Bai didn't mind. He waved his hand and signaled for Feng Zhao to hurry over. G. Poland led Feng Zhao to Film Studio Y71. Yesterday, I was familiarizing myself with the set at Film Studio Y70. Y71 is just beside it, so I know it well. Along the way, they met a few Silver Wing actors who were close to Feng Zhao. They didn't have urgent matters, so they tagged along to take a look. When Feng Zhao arrived at Film Studio Y71, there were other people inside. He Lizi was also there, chatting with another middle-aged actor. Feng Zhao didn't go over to disturb him. Instead, he sized up the set. This was a conference room. The setting was similar to the first scene of the audition, except this place was more realistic. Clearly, it had been recreated after referencing historical materials. Even the scratches on the table were almost identical to those in historical footage. Feng Zhao walked along the long table, his fingers brushing across the surface, feeling the uneven marks on the surface. He walked all the way to a seemingly ordinary chair placed in front of the table. At this moment, the vibrant colors of the new era's cities had already faded. Many memories in his mind had been awakened. That world of blood, flames of war, dust, and gloom had once again become clear. There wasn't enough lighting in the room, and the auxiliary lights weren't switched on. When He Lizi saw Feng Zhao walk over, he opened his mouth to warn him not to touch anything. At the side, a young actor's elbow accidentally knocked over a metal cup. The cup rolled on the floor with a gurgle. Sensing something, that actor looked over and met Feng Zhao's gaze. In that instant, he felt as though all the blood in his body was about to freeze. His ice-cold, sharp gaze was like a sharpened hunting knife that was pressing down on him. That kind of bone-piercing pressure seemed to be mixed with the stench of blood, making it hard to breathe. Feng Zhao had been casual ever since he had entered the film studio. The people in the room had not been mentally prepared. All of a sudden, all of them were stunned. The entire film studio Y71 was silent. Feng Zhao. Is Feng Zhao here? Director Bai's shout came from outside. Following this shout, in the blink of an eye, the frozen atmosphere in the room dissipated. It was as though that scene had never happened. Feng Zhao responded, smiled apologetically at the people in the room, and left in quick steps. He had been a little immersed in his memories and had not restrained his gaze, scaring this bunch of kids. After Feng Zhao left, the person who had knocked over the cup felt the blood in his body slowly warm up. His heart was beating rapidly, as though he had just escaped death. This was the first time he had felt this. Even when the spacecraft had been acting strangely, he had not been this scared. The other actors in the room could not help but exclaim, "Oh my God! Did you guys see the look in his eyes just now? My scalp went numb. My legs felt a little weak. Scary. Didn't you say this brother was rather amiable yesterday? How is he amiable? He is usually very amiable to us. Who knew he was like this when he was acting?" The person who was being criticized tried to defend himself. "I finally understand why he can get an important supporting role, while I can only get a role that won't last one season. We are simply not on the same level. That imposing manner just now was really awesome. I was caught off guard and was stunned. I definitely would have forgotten my lines when I was acting with him. I still thought that the imposing manner written in the script was exaggerated. What an eye-opener. No wonder everyone is risking their lives to get into this kind of high-class cast. They are all experts. Feng Zhao hasn't even put on makeup. If he did, wouldn't he have the aura of a great man? Just someone like Feng Zhao would definitely not lose out to those old veterans of showbiz if he were to compete head-on." Lizi, who was standing to the side, pursed his lips. He had forgotten what he wanted to say. He took a deep breath and replayed the scene in his mind. The imposing manner that Feng Zhao had displayed just now had seemed innate. It had been released and retracted at will. If it had been Lizi acting, he might not have been able to do it to such a degree. No, it wasn't that he might not have been able to do it. It was impossible. No wonder Roman had strongly recommended him. No wonder more than 20 members of the Committee of 100 had voted for him. This little fellow had really hidden himself well. When Lizi thought about how he would have to compete with Feng Zhao for a long time in the future, he felt immense pressure. G. Poland, who had regained his composure, also took a deep breath. Before he could express his thoughts, he heard someone beside him sigh. "I just realized that the thigh we are hugging is really thick." G. Poland nodded his head in agreement. He was even more determined to hug this golden thigh tightly. He turned back to glance at a few other young actors from the same company and gave chase in the direction that Feng Zhao had left. When the others saw this, they also hurried over. If they wanted to hug this thigh tightly, what would they do if they lost him? Outside, Director Bai had assigned Feng Zhao some additional tasks that would be used later on in the filming. Not far away, a few people were paying attention. "That's Feng Zhao? Yes, that's the one. He looks SOSO and doesn't seem special. How did he manage to squeeze out a bunch of veteran actors and snatch such an important role? Who knows? Maybe he has connections in the government." "I don't believe you if you say he doesn't have any connections. I really don't. I heard someone say that Feng Zhao's family came out to clarify." After speaking to Feng Zhao, Director Bai went to look for the other actors. G. Poland and a few others hurried over. Big Brother Zhao, are you free? I have a question about acting that I would like to ask. Fang Zhao was about to reply when he saw a silhouette from the corner of his eye. It was a person wearing a military uniform with a Y garrison insignia. Fang Zhao had seen this person at Y base before, and this person was clearly heading his way. Hold on, Fang Zhao told Ji Polan and the others. It's fine, it's fine. Big Brother Zhao, you go ahead. We're not in a hurry, Ji Polan and the others hurriedly said. They followed Fang Zhao's line of sight and saw that person. From his military rank, he seemed to be a major. He walked over expressionlessly. As filming had not officially started, some areas on set had not been sealed off. Soldiers could be seen entering the set from time to time, but they were usually there to help transport goods or equipment. It was rare to see soldiers directly looking for an actor. When the major saw Fang Zhao, he saluted first. Fang Zhao returned the salute. Seeing this scene, someone whispered to the person beside him, "What's going on?" "No idea. I'm just curious." That major was so cold just now, but now he's smiling like he's meeting his own brother. That Fang Zhao seems to have quite a background. Ji Polan and the others stared unblinkingly. They watched as the major said something to Fang Zhao and handed him a military communications device. Fang Zhao took it and greeted Director Bai. Director Bai nodded without hesitation. A young actor standing beside Ji Polan rubbed his chin thoughtfully as he watched Fang Zhao's departing figure. Why do I feel like this thigh we're hugging is even thicker? On the other side, Fang Zhao walked over to an empty lounge and took the call. Haha, long time no see. Fang Zhao, how are you doing on set? Are you nervous? Y Base's commanding officer Hua Yi laughed. Filming hasn't officially started yet. Not nervous. Is something the matter? Fang Zhao did not believe that a high-ranking, busy person like Hua Yi would personally contact him just to ask this sort of nonsense. I have something to discuss with you. Y Base? Zui Yu pointed a trembling finger at a group of armed soldiers blocking the entrance. Shameless. Shameless. Even snatching a dog. Chapter 306. Speaking of which, that day, the captain of the transport ship had brought Curly Hair to inspect a few of the cargo holds. They had indeed found something, but not much. After all, the security machines in the spaceport and the elite dogs from the Police Dog Academy weren't just for show. But the fish that had escaped the net was real. When they returned to Planet Y and saw that Yin Biao and Zui Yu were about to take the dog away, the captain couldn't help but report the matter to his superiors. Hua Yi now placed a lot of importance on the safety of cargo at the port. Seeing that Planet Y was on the rise and was developing, it wouldn't be good if something happened. When he found out, he immediately said, "Tell those 2 bodyguards that we need to arrange immigration checks for the dog. Don't let them take the dog away." The captain wasn't very confident. What if they don't agree? What right do they have to say? Get someone to stop them. The dog isn't the bodyguards. I will look for the dog's owner directly, Hua Yi said. The captain was relieved. Commander, you must leave the dog behind. This dog is much better than the machines at the spaceport. I don't know how long Founding Era will be filmed here. The transport ship will surely transport things over frequently. Even if it's not me, there will be other transport ships coming over. Our military budget is far lower than Planet Baiji's. Although the security checks have sent over a batch of new machines, it still isn't safe. We should learn from the port machines and dogs model on our home planet. Didn't you ask for a dog from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy? Will it arrive this year? Yes, I will urge them in a bit. A total of 9. The captain of the transport ship was elated when he heard this news. Although other dogs might not have Curly Hair's ability, every time he returned to Earth to load goods, he would be extremely envious of the police dog team at the spaceport. Machines were machines, police dogs were police dogs. The dogs from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy had always been in high demand. So many? They are willing? Didn't they say that they couldn't even gather 5 dogs in the past? The captain voiced his doubts. It's because the Founding Era film crew is here and the higher-ups are giving us some support. That's why the Muzhou Police Dog Academy is being so generous. Hua Yi had actually asked for a dog from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy 5 years ago. At that time, Planet Y had been a poor place, and the security screening machines had been rather outdated. They had used machines that had been discarded from planets that were at the forefront of the development sequence. Huai had thought that since the military could not afford the machines due to the lack of military funds, they could just raise a dog, right? In the end, when he asked, he found out that the dogs at the Muzhou Police Dog Academy were not cheap. Most importantly, he could not snatch one. The moment there was a good seedling, it would be reserved. Planet Y simply would not get a chance. Now that Planet Y had developed a little better, Huai had the confidence to complain to his superiors about being poor. Then, with the help of the founding-era cast and crew, it was finally about to arrive. He had heard about curly hair again today. Huai had originally wanted to ask for curly hair. It was just a dog. He could use some benefits to exchange for curly hair. However, when he searched for the value of this dog on the internet, Huai felt his teeth ache. Looking at the news, Huai knew that it was basically impossible for the dog to come over. Although he knew this, Huai still probed Feng Zhao's intentions during the call. He knew that Feng Zhao really would not sell curly hair to them. Huai had no choice but to switch to another strategy. You definitely brought curly hair over because you were worried about leaving such an expensive dog at home. Bringing him over to Planet Y, the film studio complex, is not much better. Now that the crooks are mixed in with the honest folks, who knows if your dog will be coveted? It would be better for him to stay at our base. When the time comes, there will be puppies from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy as companions. They will also be assigned a trainer and a professional breeder to take good care of the dog. I have already marked out the location. It will be an especially large piece of land. Our Planet Y has a lot of land. Feng Zhao did not say anything. He knew that Huai definitely had more to say. Indeed, Huai continued. We can let curly hair serve at our base. He can play however he wants. He just has to follow the transport ship for a round when it arrives. This is a good thing for dogs. Dogs with military service history in their files can enjoy government subsidies even when they grow old. Although you don't lack that bit of money, this is also a kind of honor, isn't it? Even if curly hair goes back with you, there will be many places where he can enjoy preferential treatment. Feng Zhao requested a video call to see curly hair's current situation. Huai saw that Feng Zhao did not reject immediately and knew that this matter could be discussed. He was in a good mood. All right, I will bring you over to take a look. That little fella is very happy. Huai really wasn't lying. After switching to a video call, Feng Zhao saw curly hair. Curly hair was wearing the uniform with the Y base insignia. Curly hair seemed rather happy. The uniform curly hair was wearing had originally been prepared for the puppies from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy, but curly hair was a small dog and suited him. Don't worry. He will only be used for smuggling, drug searches, and the like. The working environment is rather safe. He won't be used for dangerous military missions, Huai said. Huai had personally called, which meant that Y base really valued this matter. This was a decision that had been made after much discussion and not on a whim. I will make a trip over tonight after filming. We can discuss the details then, Feng Zhao said. All right, I will let the cast and crew know. That day, after Feng Zhao completed Director Bai's assignment, he did not go to the gourmet food street with Ji Polan and the others. Instead, he took a flying transport to Y base. Feng Zhao saw that curly hair was in high spirits. The little fellow was in a good mood. Feng Zhao knew that curly hair had agreed to serve here. The people at Y base had thought that curly hair did not understand when they had spoken, but he had actually heard everything. Otherwise, he would have rebelled long ago. How could he have waited obediently at the base without seeing Yin Biao and Zhuayu? Feng Zhao went to take a look at the area that Huai had mentioned was specially set up for dog training and activities. It wasn't any smaller than Dongshan Farm, and many training facilities had already been installed. Curly hair ran all over the place the moment he arrived and played with all the training facilities as if they were toys. Feng Zhao also met the breeder here. He was from Muzhou and was a dog lover. He wasn't a bad person. Huai valued this matter, and there were still 9 puppies from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy. Even if this breeder wasn't reliable, there were still trainers and breeders from Muzhou. Feng Zhao saw curly hair running over fawningly and asked, "Do you want to serve here?" Woof. Curly hair barked forcefully. Feng Zhao looked at curly hair silently until curly hair's tail did not dare wag. Feng Zhao smiled and said, All right. Fang Zhao left after discussing the conditions with Hua Yi. Hua Yi returned to base satisfied. Although Fang Zhao was busy with filming and might not be able to come out often after filming started, he would let Yin Biao and Zhuyu come over from time to take a look. Every day, he would let the breeder update him on Curly Hair's situation. Of course, Hua Yi did not have that much time to care about all this. His objective had been achieved by borrowing the dog. Everything else was a small matter. He left it to the breeder, who was in charge of reporting the situation to Fang Zhao. Starting the day after tomorrow, Curly Hair would serve on Y base until Fang Zhao finished filming. As for today, Fang Zhao still let Yin Biao and Zhuyu bring Curly Hair back to the film studio complex and send him to the base the day after tomorrow. After Hua Yi finished his discussion with Fang Zhao, he urged Muzhou to send the puppies over as soon as possible. The venue had already been prepared, and the dog trainers had already been selected. They had already undergone a year of training and were just waiting for the dogs to be sent over. At the same time, he also used the matter of Curly Hair to provoke them. The people of Muzhou had always believed that their own continent's dogs were the most impressive, and the Muzhou Police Dog Academy, which was widely recognized as the place where the most outstanding dogs were produced, had always thought of itself as the big brother in the industry. That was, until a Yinzhou dog had forced Muzhou's sheep-herding competition to change its rules. Muzhou Police Dog Academy. Who? Which dog did you say was on Planet Y? A certain leader of the Police Dog Academy picked his ears, thinking he had heard wrong. Curly Hair, the one that belongs to Fang Zhao. The people at Y base have taken a liking to him. I heard that Commanding Officer Hua Yi personally called Fang Zhao to ask for the dog, but Fang Zhao did not give it to him. A trainer replied, "Nonsense. Only a moron would give it to him." After some thought, the leader added, "Tell the people at Planet Y to be more careful. Outstanding military and police dogs are easy to be hated when they carry out too many missions. Pay attention to privacy." As he spoke, he glanced at the 9 puppies prepared for Planet Y and raised his hand. "Withdraw those 3 and switch with Class 1. There are only 7 puppies in Class 1. Didn't you say that you were leaving them for your own people?" The trainers were reluctant to part with them. The dogs at the Police Dog Academy were also divided into different classes. Class 1 had the most outstanding batch of puppies. "All right, our Muzhou has many good dogs. There will be more in the future. This time, we will send them to Planet Y." The leader looked at the puppies that were about to be sent to Planet Y. "Perform well. Don't lose to Yinzhou dogs. Y Film Studio Base." Fang Zhao returned to the cast and crew. Zhuyu and Yin Biao brought Curly Hair back. The flying transport landed near the film studio complex. There was already a car waiting for them. Yin Biao had contacted an old comrade who worked at the film studio complex to pick them up. These cars had been rented from the base. Many people in the film studio complex rented cars from the Y military, so their car was not eye-catching. In the dark, a figure quickly returned to the film studio complex after Zhuyu and Yin Biao's car left. This was an entertainment reporter who had snuck into the film studio complex. Recently, he hadn't been able to dig up any news. There wasn't much to dig up in the film studio complex. The big stars had all gone to the cast of Founding Era, but they couldn't get in. Tonight, he had snuck out to try his luck near the film studio complex. He hadn't expected to actually capture something. After returning to the film studio complex, the entertainment reporter returned to his rented room. Inside were 2 of his partners from the studios. "From the looks of it, did you get something? What did you get? Which star?" "Hey, you guys will never guess." The entertainment reporter took out the photos he had taken that night. "This person is Fang Zhao's bodyguard?" People in this line of work would try their best to remember the managers, assistants, bodyguards, and the like. If they couldn't remember, they would bring along information. Entertainment reporters from every continent knew about Fang Zhao's casting for Founding Era. Isn't that the dog worth more than 200 million? Another person noticed the main point of the photo. Shouldn't Fang Zhao be filming with the cast and crew? Why did he get his bodyguard to bring the dog? How would I know? The reporter paused the video he had secretly taken and pointed to a spot on the screen. "Y base personnel sent it over. Look at this flying transport. It has the base's insignia." The reporter took a few screenshots. Even if he couldn't get a shot of a star, he could still get some news on the dog. Think about how to fabricate these photos to attract the most netizens. Link it to Feng Zhao's family? That dog is also a hot topic. 200 million. It's one of the most valuable pets in the world. As for the truth, did it matter? They were used to making up stories based on photos. Hey, wait a minute. The reporter who had been watching the video and pondering how to fabricate news suddenly said, Feng Zhao's bodyguard seems to have noticed you. Over here. He's looking in your direction. Don't worry. As long as I'm not targeted by the military, I'll be fine. All I did was take a picture of a dog. Can they arrest me? As he said this, the doorbell rang. The three of them were startled and looked at the door cautiously. The leader made a hand signal, and one of them turned on the surveillance screen. Sir, the takeaway has arrived. The person on the other side of the door was wearing a delivery uniform with the hotel's name on it. It was indeed a familiar face. He flashed a set of pearly white teeth at the camera above the door. The three of them, who had been tensed up, relaxed. They often ordered takeaway, and there were no drones in the film studio complex. Everything was delivered by people arranged by the hotel. So it's the dinner I ordered. You gave me a fright. Eat before work. Let's fabricate the news tonight. The moment the door opened, more than 10 black muzzles were pointed at them. The three of them, fully armed soldiers, barged in. In a few breaths' time, the entire house was searched, and all kinds of secret camera equipment and storage devices were confiscated. Take them away. From start to finish, the three entertainment reporters were not given a chance to speak. The squad quickly left. Nighttime in the film studio complex was also very lively. Many people knew about the commotion here. Usually, unless there was a major incident, Planet-wise military would not interfere with matters within the film studio complex. As long as you didn't leave the city, you could fool around all day long. Sneaking out of the city and out of the military's boundaries, as long as you didn't cause any trouble, even if you were caught, you would at most be fined some money. This was the first time someone had entered the city to make an arrest. After finding out who had been arrested, the other entertainment reporters in the film studio complex began to speculate. What exactly were those guys filming? Looking at this situation, could it be that they have captured something related to military secrets? Aren't they courting death? If they're filming celebrities, then so be it. Why are they filming the military? Are they tired of living? The entertainment reporter who had been taken away was on the verge of breaking down. I fucking only filmed a dog today. Elsewhere in the film studio complex, Zhuyu looked in the direction of the commotion and told Yin Biao, when I was still in the special forces, I heard someone say that the Muzhou Police Dog Academy had produced an ace dog. It had carried out missions at many ports and made many contributions, including a first-class merit medal. You should know what a first-class merit medal is. Without a huge contribution, you can't get one. Yin Biao did not speak. Even if they were not from the same system, he knew how rare a first-class merit medal was. Even a human would find it difficult to obtain one, let alone a dog. It was indeed worthy of the title Ace Dog. Back then, the Muzhou Police Dog Academy was very high profile. They flaunted this ace dog many times, and there were many media reports. Later, because it had made too many contributions, it was hated by others. A wanted order was issued with a 20 million bounty. The police officer with it was very worried when he found out about it. He sent 20 policemen to protect it day and night. Then, it was sniped and killed during a mission. After that, the Muzhou Police Dog Academy changed its strategy and protected these elite dogs that didn't lose to machines very well. They also rarely let the media report on them. Zhuyu was worried when he thought about what he had heard in the past. Working at the port is still very dangerous. Boss is really comfortable with curly hair doing the security checks? Yen Biao spread his hands. Boss said that this was Curly Hair's own choice. Now, Boss is filming on Planet Y, Curly Hair is doing his military service at the base, and the two of us can continue to be bystanders. Chapter 307. After settling Curly Hair's matters, the cast and crew officially started filming. Once they officially started filming, everyone in the cast and crew's pace of life became extremely fast. Many people had thought that they were already busy enough during the preparation period. Unexpectedly, they didn't even have time to go to the gourmet food court during the official filming period. Not just the gourmet food court, even the number of times they went to the cafeteria was greatly reduced. Every time, it was the cafeteria staff who delivered lunchboxes. The next time they could sit down and have a good meal would probably be when their individual scenes were done. 11 chapters were being filmed at the same time, and there were 11 filming teams. No one wanted to fall behind. On one hand, there was a sense of competition. On the other hand, the lead director was watching from the back. No one dared to slack off. Don't be fooled by Roman's casual demeanor before filming started. Sometimes, he would even joke around with the actors. But when he got serious, Roman was very frightening. He would immediately transform into a demon. Roman wished he could grab a whip and stare at each team every day. If any team's progress was slow, he would give them a good beating. Of course, he wouldn't really give them a whip, but Roman didn't give them any face when he scolded them. The list and super first-rate actors, as well as the executive directors and assistant directors of the various teams, were all scolded by Roman until they doubted their own lives. For actors and actresses, the most relaxing time was probably the 2 hours of precious time they had to surf the internet every 7 days. Under most circumstances, these 2 hours were the time the cast and crew gave everyone a break. Every 7 days, these 2 hours were also the time when the cast and crew were the most relaxed. Both physically and mentally, they were more relaxed. This was because this was the only time they could go online to find some comfort and vent their frustrations. Regardless of whether it was chatting with family members or surfing the headlines online, it was much more relaxing than filming. Every time that time came, the internet would be especially lively. All the big-name actors and their teams would fight to grab the headlines. Before it was time for the cast and crew to surf the internet, they would quickly search for other news. When it came to the 2 hours 7 days later, everything else had to give way. These 2 hours were also nicknamed Founding Era time. Fans were also counting down the days waiting for those 2 hours. There was no need for additional publicity or special advertising. Once the time came, it would automatically become Founding Era time. Every time this time came, the traffic on various websites and social media platforms would soar like rockets. The film crew and some of the crew members would take advantage of this time to show off the photos and videos that they had been saving for a week. What could be released and what could not was clearly stated in the rules that were given to everyone in the production team. The news of 3 entertainment reporters being taken away by the soldiers at the film studio had also reached the production team. Roman had purposely leaked the news to warn those who were ready to make trouble. Don't think you're smart, and don't think you can get away with it. You're not abiding by the rules and regulations of the production team? You want to expose content outside of the rules and regulations? This was what Roman said. Go ahead and send it. If you can send it out, it's my loss. Did they really think that no one was monitoring the internet? Don't look for me when the army comes knocking on your door. Scram. On the online interactive platform, a C-list actor updated his personal status. I got my lunchbox. The accompanying picture was a picture of a lunchbox. The dishes were tempting and mouth-watering. It was quite eye-catching. Fans who didn't know the truth laughed in the comments section. The food for the crew is not bad, and the portions are sufficient. I heard that the filming environment was tough, but I'm relieved to see you eating so well. Looking closely, there are a total of 8 dishes, including fruits and drinks. So rich. Most importantly, there are actually 6 dishes that I haven't eaten before. Isn't that planet-wise specialty? I've never eaten such a luxurious lunchbox before. So envious. Give me one of these lunchboxes too. But very quickly, an actor who had a good relationship with him forwarded, Brother, take care, Candle. I can still persevere for a few more days. Another actor from the same continent also joined in the fun. Candle, you guys go first. I'll join you guys later. Soon after, other actors also forwarded. Fans were puzzled. Judging from their tone, something doesn't seem right. Is there a reason behind this? There were also people who went to the official Founding Era account to ask. Founding Era officials had specially released a message explaining the special significance of this lunchbox. The production team's canteen would prepare a sumptuous lunchbox for those who had finished filming their scenes. Seeing this, fans ran to the accounts of their idols to light candles. The onlookers were also interested. As soon as they saw an actor's latest status was an exquisite, fragrant, and plentiful boxed lunch, they would rush over to light the candle, and the comment section below would be filled with a long line of candles. "You finished filming so quickly?" "Candle, I wonder when I'll be able to see it. When will the show be broadcast? I'm looking forward to it." "Candle, does that mean that the character in the movie is dead?" Su Chensi asked. "Candle, take care, Candle." Candle saw quite a few similar messages today. The frequency at which the cast and crew of Founding Era are giving out bento boxes is a little high. There are so many celebrities from all 12 continents in the world, so of course there will be a lot of bento boxes. Although some people had a bad feeling when they saw so many bento boxes and candles, most of the netizens were just having fun. It was a once-a-week party, so of course they would play to their heart's content. Furthermore, everyone's expectations for Founding Era were mostly based on having fun and guessing which episode their own fans would receive their bento box. The fans had it easy, but the actors had it tough. The intensity of filming was not a big deal for actors with decades of experience. They were used to it, but to insist on filming under bad weather conditions was a little unbearable. For example, yesterday's weather had suddenly changed, and there had been a sudden hailstorm. Everyone had thought that outdoor filming would be stopped, and everyone would steal some time to rest. They had not expected that Roman would be especially happy. "Hurry, hurry, hurry, hurry up. What a favorable time and place. Everyone, make some adjustments. Those scenes that correspond, let's start filming first." The hailstones were not very big and would not injure them if they hit their bodies, but they would be a little painful. The lead director was watching from the side, so the actors gritted their teeth and went on. There were medical staff at the side. After filming, they would check on your body and give you medicine and injections. They would not let you get sick. Roman controlled the speed very well and would not really put the actors' lives in danger. They endured the pain and did not get sick, but their bodies and minds were very tired. The actors felt like they were being tortured. Thinking back, at the start, the props instructor had told them to eat a few good meals first. Now, they felt like they had eaten too little. Now that they were filming, there were times when they were very hungry and very tired, but they could not eat anything. A Mujo actor privately ridiculed, "This is simply using people as livestock." Whether they were happy or not, in order not to delay filming, they still had to do it. Even if it was a high-class celebrity who had brought along a team of assistants when filming, they still had to follow the requirements of Founding Era. They still had to force themselves to adapt. What else could they do? If they were sent back, they would lose face. Furthermore, they were not stupid. Who would be willing to give up such an opportunity? As long as they could endure it, the benefits would be immeasurable. Every management company had long warned their own artists that if anyone courted death during filming and caused trouble, affecting the filming of the cast and crew, the company would remove this stain in advance without the need for anyone in the cast to say anything. This was to prevent the incident from affecting their own artists. But after 2 months of filming, there were still a few big-name actors with experience who could not help but give suggestions to the director. Technology was advancing at a rapid pace. In the past, when they had filmed similar scenes, they had used computer special effects to solve the problem. They had only needed to act indoors. Their acting skills were up to par, and with the addition of technology, they had filmed very well. They had also won awards. This had always been the case. Now, they had to film in real locations. Even if they had to film in real locations, it was not like they had not shot such scenes before. However, some scenes had to be filmed in bad weather, which was not right. They could obviously avoid all this, yet they had to film in real locations. Wasn't this a regression in technology? Thus, they had come up with a plan and wanted to fight for some benefits, hoping to avoid such situations. It was not like they could not film the same scenes. Why would they have to suffer so much? Then, they received a heartless rejection from Roman. If you want to act, then act. If you don't, then scram. A long time ago, when technology was not so advanced, didn't actors still act the same? You want to act as a hero, but you can't even endure 1% of the hardships. You are unable to personally experience the situation at that time. You are unable to act more deeply and perfectly. What can you do to save yourselves? Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. What can you do to save yourselves? Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. A group of award-winning actors and actresses felt as if their chests had been stabbed by a knife. As for the newcomer he had mentioned, who else could it be? Feng Zhao. Who did not know that Feng Zhao was a newcomer actor recommended by Roman? He was also the only actor under the age of 30 who had taken on an important role in Founding Era. When the weather was bad, Roman had said to film, and Feng Zhao had done so without a word. Most importantly, his acting skills were top-notch. Everyone could see that he was indeed very suitable for that role and could act it well. At the same time, Feng Zhao was also the only one who had not used a stunt double for 2 months of filming. He had done the fight scenes and stunts himself. Because the stunt double and stunt team had not done as well as Feng Zhao, Roman, who pursued perfect filming effects, had directly said, "Feng Zhao, you do it yourself." In the eyes of the cast and crew, Feng Zhao was someone who dared to fight and fight. As an actor, there was nothing much to say about him. He had also received the approval of many seniors in the industry. But approval was approval. Every time Roman brought it up to attack others, who could take it well? Look at Feng Zhao. This was what Roman often said. This time, it was even better. All he had done was raise a suggestion, and Roman had said, "What can you do to save yourselves?" Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. It had to be said that Roman's ability to incur hatred for Feng Zhao and the cast and crew was top-notch. Every time Feng Zhao went to the cafeteria to eat, he would receive many gloomy gazes. As for Zero, his scenes had not started yet. Right now, he was undergoing training and honing his acting skills every day. But he was listless. Today, he had not gone through 2 training sessions. Zero came out of the restroom for the 7th time, his entire body listless from diarrhea. After taking the medicine his agent had just bought, he felt slightly better. But before his mood could soar, he raised his head and saw Barbara in front of him, holding a fan in her hand. Barbara's scenes had not started yet. During this period, she was also undergoing training here. Zero looked at the temperature outside. It was -7 degrees Celsius. Although there was an air conditioner indoors, it was definitely not hot. Who would bring a fan outside when the temperature was so low? The way Zero looked at Barbara was like he was looking at a lunatic. Barbara gave Zero a sidelong glance, as if she was looking at a piece of trash. "I heard you are not acclimatized?" "Acclimatized? How am I not acclimatized?" Zero replied immediately. "That weak stomach of yours." Barbara looked at Zero disdainfully and sneered, "Trash." Although Barbara was usually pretentious and always had the air of an aristocrat, her physique was really strong. She had fully inherited what people called Lajo's royal family. The La Colina family seemed weak, but in reality, they had a monstrous physique. She indeed had the capital to look down on Zero. Zero was infuriated by the evaluation of trash. He turned his head and told his agent, "Go, buy me a 40-meter broadsword. I will fight it out with her." Zero's agent hurriedly pulled Zero back and said in a low voice, "Senior Master, let's not bicker with her. Let's study the script and strive to pass it in one take. When the series starts broadcasting, the governor will also want to watch it. The old master will surely watch it too." Zero did not think much of it when his agent mentioned the governor, but when he heard old master, his whole body tensed up. After weighing the pros and cons, Zero raised his hand and pointed at Barbara. "Just you wait." After saying this, he turned around and left with his agent. "How do you feel after taking the medicine?" Zero's agent was worried. As a guest assistant, he still had to take care of Zero's basic necessities. On account of his high salary, he could not let anything happen to Zero. After taking the medicine, Zero's spirit had returned. Hearing his agent's question, Zero thought about it seriously and said, "I am very good now. I reckon that I have already cleansed my muscles and marrow." Zero's agent. No, you were just messing around by eating. You are jumping around now because I want to buy the medicine. Hey, is there any other way to quickly improve my acting skills? I feel that my acting is not bad. Why do those teachers still want me to improve? Zero asked, puzzled. Zero's agent looked at Zero expressionlessly for a few seconds. The role that the Lijo governor had arranged for Zero would only appear in the later stages of the second season. This arrangement was to give Zero sufficient time to hone his eye-piercing acting skills. In the past, the series that he had invested in and acted in had barely been watchable because the other actors had not acted seriously. Furthermore, Zero's strong points had been deliberately magnified. Everything had been for the sake of Zero, the main character, and the investors. But in the cast of Founding Era, when compared to the others, it was far from enough. It was as awkward as it could be. Even as Zero's agent, he felt ashamed. After pondering seriously for a bit, Zero's agent said, "How about you look for Feng Zhao for advice? He definitely has a way. In any case, we have cooperated with him a few times. We are not strangers." "Don't mention Feng Zhao to me," Zero said angrily. "Looks? Figure? Family background? Qualifications? Reputation? How am I inferior to him?" Zero's agent. "I actually don't know how to respond. Whatever I say is wrong." Chapter 308. As the days passed, the number of people completing their scenes increased, but very few people left the cast unless there were urgent matters or other arrangements. During their free time, an actor asked another person, "When will you collect your bento box?" The person being asked looked at the sky in disappointment. According to the filming schedule, it should be within these 2 days. The person in front patted the shoulder of the latter. "Let's work hard together. What about you?" "Me? Ha 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 ha. My bento box is getting cold." "Already collected? When are you leaving?" "I'm not leaving. I still want to stay and learn." What a good learning opportunity. Those who had finished filming were unwilling to leave. They felt that leaving so early was too shameful. Even if they had to pay for their own food and lodging, they wanted to stay for a period of time. Of course, they could indeed learn a lot and benefit a lot. They had to pay for manual labor, move things, carry equipment, and be an extra. If they were lucky, they might even be pulled in for an emergency and play a role that would last a few minutes. Even if they could not recognize the character after the makeup was on, they would still be satisfied. They were willing to pay for their own labor, and their management company supported them and even reimbursed a portion of their expenses. If they met a generous company, they would directly reimburse them. Only by staying in the cast and crew could they continue riding the big ship of Founding Era. Whether it was from an actor's own value or the company's commercial interests, staying was the best choice. Many of the actors who were able to squeeze into the cast and crew were capable. They could act like old people and act young, so the cast and crew did not chase them away. Feng Zhao's filming was also very smooth, and there were no more situations where he went all out. He was here to act, not to use his power to suppress others. That would not be beneficial to cooperation. A historical drama was not history, and the other actors were not the characters themselves. Feng Zhao was very clear on the distinction between reality and memory. Right now, he was just collaborating with the other actors and actresses. From an artistic point of view, he was going to film Founding Era, which was based on real history. He was going to let more people remember what had happened in that era and remember the people who had sacrificed for this land. From a cultural and artistic point of view, he wanted to leave a mark in history. Because his goal was different from others, Feng Zhao was very serious about this matter. Furthermore, it was not considered arduous for him, so he looked much more relaxed than others. It was not that he did little. Actually, in the Yinzhou chapter's filming team, his workload was heavier than others, and the filming was more arduous. He had not even used a stunt double and had to do everything himself. If it had been someone else, they would have collapsed from exhaustion long ago. But Feng Zhao was still very energetic every day. He was full of energy and had a good appetite. Other people could not even finish a box lunch, but he could eat 3. Some people in the cast and crew liked to watch Feng Zhao eat. Seeing him eat with relish and eat a lot, They also felt a little more hungry and stuffed a few more mouthfuls into their mouths. An old actor saw Fang Zhao eating with gusto and couldn't help but ask, "Fang Zhao, how can you eat so much?" Fang Zhao swallowed the food in his mouth and replied, "Because I'm hungry." The old actor choked and sighed to the people beside him. Given Fang Zhao's physical and mental qualities, it's no wonder he was promoted during his military service. Who wouldn't be tired and hungry during filming? But sometimes, for some reason, he just felt uncomfortable in his heart. Perhaps it was because he was still immersed in his role and had yet to completely extricate himself from it. He felt suffocated and panicked, causing a physiological repulsion. He couldn't even swallow his food. But look at Fang Zhao. A while ago, he was more engrossed than anyone else, but after filming was over, he was squatting at the side and wolfing down his food. Others were still holding their lunchboxes in a daze and trying to ease their emotions, but this person had already eaten his second meal. When the others finally adjusted their emotions and came out of their roles, this person had already finished his third lunchbox and went to help the rest of the cast and crew. When the others had finished stuffing their food with difficulty, memorized their lines, and adjusted their emotions, this person ran back and got the makeup artist to adjust his makeup. In a second, he got into character. Another old actor sighed. "He really is a natural actor. How many years has it been since I felt this kind of pressure?" The old actors said as they looked at Fang Zhao, who had once again entered into filming mode. This was why many of the big-name old actors in the cast and crew felt pressured. If the younger generation performed too well, it would seem that the older generation lacked motivation and weren't dedicated enough. The cast and crew's filming progress was very fast. Now that Season 2 was almost done, the actors had already adapted to the climate and environment here and had also gotten used to this kind of filming intensity. They were all skilled actors, so after adapting, filming was even faster than in the first season. Now, the makeup on the faces was very simple. There were masks specially made for each actor and character. After sticking it on the face, the makeup artist would slightly touch it up. Under the high-definition cameras, there would be no traces of makeup, which saved a lot of time. Clothing, scars, and other aspects were the same. With the advancement of technology, it had become simple and time-saving. There was no need for a lot of time to put on makeup. Efficiency naturally increased. The second season was being filmed, while the first season was in production. It was said that production was almost complete. Don't look at how fast filming was. On one hand, everyone in the cast and crew was working hard. On the other hand, the preparation period was long. The founding Arid project had not been prepared after the official start of filming. It had been proposed a few years ago, but it had not been implemented. The script had been out long ago. It was just that after the official start of filming, the consultant team had been asked to look over it and make some changes. The design plans for the buildings, decorations, and other things had long been prepared, down to the finest details. As for the actors, the insiders who were well-informed had already been making preparations a few years ago. They were just waiting for the project to start. As for the accompaniment, the music team had stocked up on it. Some capable teams could even come up with music that suited the plot at the last minute. With so many elites and geniuses, Roman would use whoever's work could meet his requirements. Just because filming was fast did not mean that the production was shoddy. Post-production was also strictly controlled. With Roman, a head director with high standards, nobody could even think of fooling around. From the filming to the post-production, everyone gave their all. The entire crew was like a high-precision, high-efficiency machine that operated at full speed. Other than filming assignments, Fang Zhao and the other actors playing important roles in the cast and crew had to visit a psychologist every once in a while. This was the arrangement of the cast and crew. There were also clear requirements that actors like Fang Zhao, who had more important scenes, had to visit once every 7 days. This was to prevent actors from getting too immersed in their roles and affecting their mental health. It was not that the cast and crew did not care about the physical and mental health of the actors. Actually, many aspects had already been considered. Actually, the original plan had been to completely seal off filming and cut off the internet until filming was completed. But in the end, it was changed to 2 hours of internet time every 7 days. This was also a suggestion from the psychologist team. This was to give the actors some time to vent their emotions. The psychologist in charge of Feng Zhao's side was called Daiyu. Daiyu knew a lot of actors. Now that he had joined the cast and crew, even though he was not involved in filming, he could tell from his conversations with the actors that this was probably the toughest time for them. He would understand the psychological state of the actors through his conversations with them. From Daiyu's professional perspective, Founding Arab was like a gloomy black forest filled with strangeness and danger. When actors stepped into it, they had to be extremely careful, even brushing aside a leaf. The deeper they went, the deeper they sank, and the more dangerous it became. Any object could become a threat. Other people were hell. What Daiyu needed to do was to guide the actors who had sunk deep into the darkness out. The other actors were fine, but when it came to Feng Zhao, Daiyu encountered a problem. Every time he faced Feng Zhao, Daiyu had a feeling. While he was dissecting Feng Zhao's mentality, Feng Zhao, who was sitting in front of him, was similarly scanning his mentality. Daiyu coughed lightly to alleviate the strange feelings that had just arisen. Recalling his conversations with the other actors, he continued, "The people of that era became like wild beasts. If they lost their humanity, it meant that they would lose a lot of precious things. Feng Zhao, losing their bestial nature, losing everything." Dr. Dai paused, glanced at Feng Zhao, then quickly averted his gaze. He nodded and said, "That's right. They were all forced. If they didn't change, they wouldn't be able to survive." Daiyu took the initiative to find a few more topics to talk about and chatted with Feng Zhao for about 10 minutes before decisively ending this conversation. After Feng Zhao left, Daiyu poured himself a cup of warm water and finished it. The fingers holding the cup were still trembling slightly. After drinking, he stared at the chair Feng Zhao had sat in and pondered. If one was attentive, they would notice that every time Feng Zhao came over, the position of the chair was slightly further away than the others. Daiyu knew from the few conversations that Feng Zhao was very dangerous and was far from being as harmless as he looked. His true personality was probably closer to the character he played in the series. Unlike other people, who seemed to be stealthily moving through a dangerous forest because of their acting, Feng Zhao had a gloomy forest in his heart that had already taken deep roots and could not be uprooted. Daiyu was powerless. Feng Zhao's aura was probably closer to that of people from the period of destruction. Perhaps it was because of this that Roman and the other members of the Committee of 100 had chosen him. However, all this had nothing to do with Daiyu as a psychologist. All he had to do was make sure that the actors did not sink too deeply into their acting. Looking at this period of time, it seemed that the others had some tendency and needed to talk more and guide more. As for Feng Zhao's side, he just needed to go through the motions. Many young actors were nervous when they came here, but talking to Feng Zhao was the one that made Daiyu the psychologist feel the pressure. Every time Feng Zhao came over, he felt very uneasy, as if he was being watched by a ferocious beast. That's right, here, Feng Zhao was not nervous. He was nervous. December passed, and a new year and a new month arrived. What followed was the half-minute-long trailer for Founding Era. The soundtrack for the trailer was produced by a famous music group. The opening was played by a piano, accompanied by a violin. It was low and oppressive, yet it seemed extremely quiet and desolate. At the beginning of the trailer, the truck driver leaned against the steering wheel, his fists clenched tightly. His gaze peered through the cracked windshield, hesitating. The shepherd's trembling hand gripped the hatchet, drops of blood dripping from the tip of the blade. The prison guard in the prison sat on the ground, quietly lighting a cigarette. A woman dressed in luxurious clothing stood atop a castle, gazing into the distance. People crawled out from the ruins, staggering step by step, as if they were walking into an abyss. Mountains and rivers shattered, homes destroyed, the sun and moon without light, stars falling, struggling in the flames of war, advancing in the darkness. A feather stained with blood floated down against the light. Near hell, war without rest, disaster without end. Following the rise of the melody, the drumbeats became stronger, and the colors on the screen intensified. Rising in the darkness, reborn from the ashes. In the long and lonely hours, freedom, survival, blood, watchfulness. 12 monuments appeared. Countless names flashed by. The 100-year period of destruction, the magnificent waves in history books, the twists and turns in the eyes of future generations. A long journey, 100-year reflection. Founding era, January 28th, 12 noon, Huangzhou time. All 11 chapters will be broadcasted simultaneously. This was not a twisted fantasy, but a work of art based on historical facts, a collection of video entertainment, history, and spiritual culture all in one. January 1st, year 535 of the new era, the first day of the new year. Following the appearance of the trailer, all major forums, video websites, interactive platforms, newspapers, and magazines, all were occupied by Founding Era. Without a doubt, this was the main theme for the coming year. The internet was in jubilation. It's finally going to be broadcasted. I'm counting the days every day. They are all big names. It feels so good to randomly find a celebrity. This is an unprecedented luxury. Looking forward to it. The 12 people that appeared at the start of the trailer are the 12 generals, right? Idiot. How do you study history? There are only 11 generals. Fang Zhao is not one. Ha ha ha. The Wu Yin in the trailer is still a baby. 11 chapters. I'm a Yinzhou person. I'll watch the Yinzhou chapter first before going to the other chapters. How nice. 11 chapters broadcasted at the same time. I'm a Yinzhou person. Which one should I watch first? I'm a Huangzhou person. Why isn't there a Huangzhou chapter among the 11 chapters? Among the 12 continents, because of the historical background of the period of destruction, Huangzhou was a little special. It was the only continent without a native general and was not named after any general. Now that Huangzhou was the political center of the world, the people of Huangzhou always had a high and mighty mentality, but this time, the people of Huangzhou were very depressed. Our Huangzhou has been reduced to a supporting role in Founding Era. I don't know when we can see a plot related to Huangzhou. Only at the end of the series will there be scenes from our continent. Whatever, as long as there is something to watch. After the premiere, there would be 2 episodes a day from Monday to Friday, with breaks on Saturday and Sunday. But the series would only be broadcasted on the 28th, and it was only the first. There were still more than 20 days left. How could they endure it? If they couldn't watch the series, then they would first go to the Cemetery of Martyrs to pay their respects. Fans would also first understand the role their idol was playing, which hero was in the Cemetery of Martyrs, and see what the grave number was. Thus, on the first day of the new year, the number of people in the Cemetery of Martyrs started to increase. Isn't it still too early to Memorial Day? Why are there so many people? A staff member of the Cemetery of Martyrs asked doubtfully as he looked at the people walking around the park. The influence of Founding Era, another person replied. This year's martyr stickers are selling especially well. Someone else joined the discussion. The stickers that no one bought in the past were sold out at the start of the year. My boss said that he hired artists to speed up the work. There are also many character stickers that have never been heard of before. After entering January, the number of people in the Cemetery of Martyrs seemed to increase every day. Very quickly, following the bombardment of news, even some people who did not pay attention to this aspect knew about the news of the broadcast of Founding Era on Memorial Day. Over at the various military districts, regardless of whether they were on Earth or on other planets, they all heard about this news and were looking forward to it. There was little entertainment in the military, and it was rare to have a series that the higher-ups supported. Of course, they were looking forward to it. In daily life, people would inevitably mention Founding Era when they went to work, went to school, or went online. This had already become a national phenomenon. Founding Era was broadcasted on Memorial Day. Schools and companies were on holiday, and there were much fewer people on the streets. The Cemetery of Martyrs was also a little quieter. Finally, the day had arrived. Those who had gathered with their families and colleagues, or those who had been cooped up at home, were all waiting there early. Even those who were in the middle of the night in their time zone stayed up late. When the time came, the first episode was broadcasted, and everyone excitedly started watching. Chapter 309. In the trailer, due to time constraints, the majority of the celebrities that appeared only flashed by. Only a few main leads and important supporting characters could be seen clearly. Now that it was officially broadcasted, most fans were watching Founding Era with the mentality of counting the stars. Others were just there to join in on the fun and out of curiosity. Only a small number of people were truly interested in this theme. After watching 2 episodes in a row, the strongest feeling many fans had was abuse. Abuse to death. How could it not be abused when he started with a wholesale bento box from the start? The first episode opened with a gentle and beautiful light mirror and delicate touch points, creating a peaceful atmosphere of the old era. But what followed was chaos, bloodshed, and cruel disaster. It was a stark contrast. The arrival of the period of destruction meant that even more people would die. Founding Era had its own seriousness and sense of history. The powerful celebrity lineup did not dilute the propaganda of the mainstream ideology. This was the first time the main production team and the audience had a formal and profound dialogue with that period of history. The history books that people in the new era knew about the events of the period of destruction in all sorts of historical materials was just a skeleton. For the vast majority of people in the new era, their feelings were not deep. After all, so many years had passed. But the historical imagery was to give flesh and blood to this skeleton. Flesh and blood were spirit. This way, people could better understand the culture of that era and invest more in it. Roman had always demanded that the battle scenes be realistic and believable, so realistic that it was frightening. He felt that this was the only way to highlight the spirit of those who had stood out in that era. Whether it was those who had left their names in history or those who had not, whether it was for the big or small, nothing could be missing. It was also because of Roman's high standards and requirements that the scenes in the 11 chapters were coherent and realistic. The design of the sound effects also ensured that this state of realism was maintained. For example, in the Yinzhou chapter, the first episode had 2 large-scale battle scenes. There was no music, only sound effects. These were battle scenes that looked very realistic with sound effects as the main lead. But in the battle scene at the end of the first episode, a very tragic and stirring background music was used to push the audience's emotions and achieve a deeper emotional effect. And after that was the epilogue, the list of those who had died in battle, including the names and grave numbers of the martyrs. Coupled with the impressive acting skills of the actors, the resulting effect was many times more impactful. In the past, when fans heard that someone had received a bento box, they would roar with laughter, but now they could not. Heavy and cruel. Perhaps this was history. Not every chapter started at the beginning of the disaster. The timeline of each chapter was different. The Yinzhou chapter was a simplified version, starting from when Wu Yin was young. At that time, a few people had already gathered around Feng Zhao. A leader was a form of authority. This was why Feng Zhao already had the temperament of a leader wielding authority at the start of the novel. The personalities of the other characters in the Yinzhou chapter were different from the gradual changes in the characters in the other chapters. According to the Yinzhou chapter's timeline, they had already adapted to the period of destruction. Because the timeline of the Yinzhou chapter was different from the other chapters, this also meant that from the start, the Yinzhou chapter's ending song had displayed more casualties than the other chapters. These were all recorded in history. Of course, the higher the list of deaths did not mean that the game officials would give out more bento boxes. On the contrary, in the other chapters, the official bento boxes were basically distributed like wholesale. The other chapters were narrated from the beginning of the disaster. The peaceful world was directly attacked and turned into a living hell. Some small stars and internet celebrities who played small roles received a bento box at the beginning. Fans of various schools were abused until their hearts were in turmoil. This was just the beginning. Based on the current situation, there would definitely be a lot of bento box wholesale later on. On the internet, more than 90% of the trending topics were related to Founding Era. Some were from the teams behind the various companies and celebrities, and some were from the general public. Some people even specially listed the celebrities that appeared in the first episode. Let's take a look at the pitiful ones who received bento boxes at the beginning of the chapter. Small-time celebrities who had not been bothered by hype in the past were especially excited now. The teams behind them also seized the opportunity to operate. The dividends that Founding Era had brought them were already beginning to show. A few of them had not been very famous in the past, but because their roles had left a deep impression, even if they only appeared for a few minutes, as long as they operated well, they would be able to increase their popularity by quite a bit. Of course, the most obvious ones who had the ability to compete for the headlines of the mainstream media were the protagonists of the various chapters. As for the Yinzhou chapter, before Wu Yin had grown up, Fang Zhao had been the protagonist of the Yinzhou chapter. After all, according to the timeline, Wu Yin had still been young in the first season, and his screen time had been slightly less than the protagonists of the other chapters. There was no way to simplify Fang Zhao's screen time because too many things revolved around Fang Zhao. This aura of Fang Zhao. Amazing. Photo. Some people took screenshots of Fang Zhao's fighting scenes in the first episode of the Yinzhou chapter. There was even a screenshot of Fang Zhao's facial expression. Death stare from the Zhao god. I felt a chill down my spine when I saw this scene. Let me also upload a screenshot, photo. This is the monster fighting scene that flashed through the trailer. I never expected it to be a 1v6. It's a 1v7. There's still one hidden at the back. It looks very casual, but if you look closely, it isn't. Every move is ruthless, direct, and efficient. Killing intent follows like a shadow. There's also a scene in a meeting. When Fang Zhao's gaze swept over the camera, that oppressive feeling comes. Is this the aura of a leader? Awesome. I can't tell that this is a newcomer's acting. Fang Zhao is indeed rather impressive. Wait a minute. Which Fang Zhao are you guys talking about? I can't even tell who he is. How are we going to discuss it in the future? Heh. Fang Zhao is only a newcomer when it comes to acting. He's already famous in the gaming and music circles. Gaming fans have dug up the classic video from Battle of the Century to watch again. It's a different approach, but achieves the same result. Yinzhou's well-known film critics also gave their evaluations of Fang Zhao. There are some people who, given a chance, can soar to the heavens in a single bound. Fang Zhao is that kind of person, reaching the pinnacle on his debut. Another film critic said, reaching the pinnacle on his debut sounded very impressive, but it could actually be understood in two contexts. One was that Fang Zhao soared upon his debut, far surpassing other actors of the same level and stepping onto a peak that many newcomers had been unable to reach for many years. And the other was that he reached the pinnacle on his debut, and then began to decline. This was the brilliance of that film critic. Now, according to the public's understanding, these were good words that were praising Fang Zhao. But if Fang Zhao were to decline in the future, that film critic could still give another explanation. Even so, there were still many media outlets that quoted that film critic's evaluation of Fang Zhao as reaching the pinnacle on his debut, praising and lamenting. A newcomer, an outsider who had never acted before and couldn't even be considered an actor. Relying on Founding Era, Fang Zhao had truly made a name for himself in the showbiz circles. At a certain military district, there was also a group of people who had gathered to watch Founding Era. They watched all 11 chapters one by one. When they had just finished watching the Yinzhou chapter, one of them pointed to the screen and asked another, "Back then, you chose this person to play the role of Fang Zhao?" "Yes, it was this actor. I even voted for him back then. Now it seems like my choice was right." Indeed, he acted rather well. He made people remember him in an instant. His temperament was especially different from other people. There were too many celebrities. Those who were dazzled by them or were unable to recognize people due to face blindness might not be able to remember the face of Fang Zhao, but they would remember his temperament. The next time they saw him, they would clearly not be able to recognize his face, but they would be able to match the character in an instant. Many celebrities simply could not be identified after putting on makeup, and their originally faint impressions became even fainter. But Fang Zhao left a very deep impression on them. Another reason they were more inclined towards Fang Zhao was that Fang Zhao had come from Baiji Military District. One just had to check the news from back then to know. This actor was also once a soldier. He really fought terrorists. No wonder. You can feel that kind of murderous aura in the fight scenes. Although the other actors can also act a little, That kind of murderous aura is not as realistic as his. Soldiers who had really been on the battlefield were very sensitive to this sort of aura. The other actors are not bad either. They are much better than those so-called war movies of the past. They are rather well shot. Let everyone see this movie. It is not like those nonsensical movies of the past. There are no exaggerated performances, especially the fight scenes. We should be able to immerse ourselves in them. There were many one-take fight scenes. They were cold, clean, and not at all showy. There were not many flashy fight scenes in this movie. What the cast and crew had learned during their training was also different from what they had filmed in the past. In the past, the fight scenes in the movies had been done to look cool and look good. Now, it was more realistic. Due to artistic needs, when Feng Zhao was filming, he had actually added an appropriate amount of traces of acting. Not too much, not too little. It was just right and looked more natural in front of the camera. This was for the effect of filming. It was a change that Feng Zhao had made after Xinwei and Roman's guidance. Of course, other people did not know that Feng Zhao had deliberately changed his acting for the effect of filming. In the eyes of the older veterans in the industry, Feng Zhao's understanding of the character, his foundation in his lines, his movements, and other aspects were very satisfactory. This made the people who had voted for him in the Committee of 100 feel at ease. Apart from being at ease, they also felt a little pleased. What did so many good reviews mean? It meant that our eyesight was good. Look, from a bunch of capable big-name actors, we picked the most suitable but not famous one. Now that they had the confidence, they naturally praised Feng Zhao in a good way when they were interviewed or writing reviews. Praising Feng Zhao was equivalent to praising themselves. At the same time, they could also slap the faces of those who had previously refuted and doubted Feng Zhao. Their eyesight was better than theirs. It also let the students of film and television art schools see clearly who was the one who had a discerning eye for talent. At this moment, they could more or less understand Roman's mentality. This sort of feeling was indeed rather satisfying. Yinbei Retirement Facility. Great-grandfather Feng wiped his tears. His eyes were red. He did not know if it was because of the heaviness in the series or because of the great-grandson in the series. After watching 2 episodes, great-grandfather Feng kept staring at the screen, his gaze unfocused. No one knew what he was thinking, but he remained silent. Great-grandmother Feng's eyes were also red. She sighed and said, "It really wasn't easy to survive in that era." Little Zhao also acted well. The internet says that this sort of one-take fight scene has to be filmed many times before it is successful. Actors work very hard and can get injured. And in the Yenzhou chapter, Little Zhao has more scenes like this than anyone else. Who knows how much suffering he had to go through to achieve this kind of effect? It really wasn't easy. Of course, how could such an effect be achieved without hard work? Great-grandfather Feng had just held back his tears, but now they were flowing again. The 2 elders sat there and chatted for more than an hour about the cruelty of the period of destruction, the personality changes of survivors, and Feng Zhao's filming life outside the series. "Shall we watch the other chapters now?" Great-grandmother Feng asked. They had told the younger generation of the Feng family in advance that they should come early if they wanted to and not look for them today. Thus, no one came to disturb the 2 elders today. The 2 elders had planned on watching the series all day. "No need. Let's wait for a few hours first," great-grandfather Feng said. When his emotions had calmed down, great-grandfather Feng browsed the news online. When he saw the words of praise for Feng Zhao, he smiled until the wrinkles on his face were about to blossom. He wiped away his tears and snot, washed his face, and went out to chat with his old companions. Fiery Bird's Yenzhou branch. The Dieting series of headphones and sound equipment that Feng Zhao was endorsing had once again become popular. After the first and second episodes of Founding Era were broadcast, sales had increased significantly. Some city-level warehouses in Yenzhou were out of stock, and there were even more empty warehouses in other continents. The influence that Founding Era had brought was on a global scale. Feng Zhao's momentum. If we want to renew Feng Zhao's contract, we will definitely have to increase the endorsement fee. Otherwise, he might not renew our contract. Then are we still going to sign with him? Nonsense. Of course we're going to sign. The design department already had a plan, But we didn't know how Feng Zhao's situation would be after Founding Era, so we had shelved it. Now that Feng Zhao is on the rise, the new product plan will definitely be implemented. The new dieting series model, a high-end model. Feng Zhao was already playing a leader. Of course, he had to get a high-end model that cost at least 5 figures. All right, I will leave him a message first. They only have 2 hours of online time every 7 days. We still have to wait a few days for his reply. Why doesn't Feng Zhao have an agent? It was rare for Firybird to take the initiative to look for an endorsement and make them wait a few days. However, this was a rule set by the Founding Era cast and crew. It wasn't something that Feng Zhao or any particular actor had decided, so Firybird couldn't do anything about it. Feng Zhao wasn't the only one that Firybird looked for an actor to endorse, but now, they had to wait to find an actor to shoot a new commercial. Soon, there would surely be even more manufacturers heading to Planet Y to shoot a commercial while the actors were resting. The products endorsed by the main cast and important supporting actors, those who had appeared in the first few episodes, and those who were popular online, had all seen an increase in sales. Founding Era was a big ship that carried the interests of countless people. But at the same time, the original goal of this film project was also in the process of being completed. Chapter 310. There was a lot of praise for Founding Era online. There were also a few famous critics who evaluated Founding Era as the most realistic historical drama since the beginning of the new era. For someone like Feng Zhao who understood real history, he was still lacking a lot. However, movies and TV series were still movies and TV series. It was a form of art. To be able to restore history to a certain extent was already very rare. Looking at online news reports of people going to the graves that other than cleaners, Feng Zhao was quite happy that other people were going this year. It was a good thing that people remembered, even if it was just now. As a milestone historical drama, Founding Era would definitely be rebroadcast in the future, and the number of views online would definitely be even higher. Even after many years, as long as there were people watching, they would know about these people and these things. Being remembered was also a blessing. There were even more people who had not been able to leave their names behind, let alone have a tombstone. Feng Zhao agreed to Firybird's endorsement contract renewal. Firybird's conditions were not bad, and it was just taking time to shoot some photos. There was not much else to do, and it would not delay filming. Actually, in the cast and crew, most people accepted endorsements and commercials. The cast and crew's request was that it did not delay filming. They could accept endorsements, but they could only shoot for a few short days after the end of a season. Furthermore, they could only shoot at a location designated by the cast and crew. Actors still could not leave the area. Manufacturers had to apply for permission and sign a confidentiality agreement. Not every manufacturer could send people to Planet Y. Therefore, some actors who had finished filming felt that they could not wantonly accept commercials and delay earning money, so they left the cast and returned home. Roman was actually very reluctant. He did not want actors to accept commercials during filming, but Founding Era was a little special. It involved too much of the dark side of human nature. Even if it was not completely displayed in front of the camera, actors would still analyze it in depth when trying to figure out their roles. If this goes on, there will be problems. Let them find something to do. After all, their filming time is not long. Half a day is enough, the psychologist team leader told Roman. I wonder how the people of the period of destruction survived. Living in that kind of environment, would they have become crazy and perverted? Those who did not break down were all strong people. Roman clicked his tongue and did not say anything, but in his heart, he agreed with what the other party said. Sometimes, when he thought too much, he felt that the darkness and bloodshed of the period of destruction made him breathless. There were many scenes that were not suitable for the audience to see, but he was very clear. Therefore, although they were not satisfied with the actors accepting advertisements during filming, they still agreed in the end. He himself was about to become crazy, so he couldn't ask others to become crazy like him. I heard that Feng Zhao also accepted advertisements? The psychologist team leader asked. It's a Firybird endorsement. A few photos and a short video can be taken within an hour. Furthermore, given Feng Zhao's condition, He can shoot for a whole day without a problem. I feel at ease with him. When Feng Zhao was mentioned, Roman had a slight smile on his face. Roman had also seen the comments on the internet. Naturally, he was delighted. Have you seen the full film? How was it? Didn't that kid act very well? Roman asked. Indeed, it's pretty good, the psychologist team leader said. Feng Zhao, that person, is very suitable for that role. He had heard from the psychologist in charge of Yinzhou's actors that Feng Zhao's situation was something they could not resolve. In private, they had once said that there was a type of black called the period of destruction black. Feng Zhao's insides were of this color. Roman, who was so pleased with himself, did not notice the strange expressions on the psychologists' faces when they mentioned Feng Zhao. However, when Feng Zhao was mentioned, Roman was reminded of another person in the cast that had given him a headache. The smile that had just appeared on his face disappeared completely in an instant. Zero, the person that the Lizhou governor had personally called to mention. Feng Zhao and Zero were polar opposites in the head director's heart. One could not be compared to anyone, and the other could not be compared to anyone. When Feng Zhao was mentioned, head director Roman felt that there was no one in the entire cast that could compare to Feng Zhao. And when Zero was mentioned, head director Roman felt that in the entire cast, any one of the extras could act better than Zero. Those training sessions that he had previously arranged for Zero had been taught to a dog. There was simply no effect. Zero had only appeared twice in the second season, and both times, he had not passed even after 3 takes. In the end, he had to be guided a few times before he barely passed. In the second season, Zero basically only showed his face. The number of lines he had could be counted on one hand, and it had taken him a few takes to pass. The Lizhou chapter's executive director was not in a good mood. His face was gloomy. Head director Roman, who had high expectations, was even more irritable. Just thinking about it made his stomach hurt, and he could not eat. Now that the second season had already finished filming and was in production, the third season was also in the midst of filming. In the third season, Zero's scenes had clearly increased. There was even a scene where he had a quarrel with a fellow actor. According to the director's standards, Zero was still far from being able to achieve the instantaneous emotional outburst of a capable actor. If Zero really could not do it, the director might adjust the filming angle and let the focus of the camera focus on someone else. But it could not always be like this. Thus, head director Roman pondered whether he should send a message to the Lizhou governor and replace him as soon as possible. Zero could more or less guess what the director's team was thinking, because when the director had flown into a rage at him, he had clearly said, "If you can't act, then replace him." Back when Zero had been filming the second season, he had been caught by the director spitting saliva all over his face during his first scene. Zero had been suppressing a bellyful of anger with nowhere to vent, but he had not dared to directly go against the director. Otherwise, he would have received a call from his grandfather, the governor. But on the bright side, the director had called him aside to scold him and not in front of others. Otherwise, he would really have lost face. Filming was really tiring. Zero somewhat regretted joining the cast and crew. This was completely different from his previous filming experiences. Sometimes, he felt that the entire cast and crew's atmosphere was very stifling. To Zero, face was rather important. He could withdraw, but he could not be chased out by the director's team. Thus, Zero had spent a lot of time studying the script over the past few days. The more he studied, the more he felt the difficulty. How was he supposed to explode with emotions? Every time he acted, he felt pretty good, but everyone else just had a "I can't bear to watch" expression on their faces. Flipping through the news online, they were all praising the series' founding era. Lizhou people definitely valued the Lizhou chapter more, and when Lizhou people talked about the Lizhou chapter, they would inevitably bring up the topic of Zero. Lizhou netizens had watched the latest episode from the first episode of the Lizhou chapter and had not seen Zero. Zero has not been seen since the first season. Did I miss something? I also looked around and did not find him. Could it be that his makeup skills are too advanced and we did not discover him? Where did Senior Master Zero appear? Has anyone found out? It would be best if he did not appear. With Zero's acting skills, he might be alright for fun, but if he were in Founding Era, he would definitely become dregs. When I think about Zero's acting skills, I reckon he will become dregs. Haha, I can't wait to see Zero. Better not. Don't let the Lijo chapter become a laughing stock for other continents. Once Zero appears, he destroys everything. Let me prove it. I say, Senior Master Zero, for the sake of Lijo and for the sake of the Lijo chapter that was produced with great difficulty, you should withdraw from the cast. I support Zero, but Senior Master, when exactly are you coming out? Could it be that you are not acting well and have already withdrawn? Hiding and not uttering a word? Haha, maybe that's true. Even with the Renault family backing him, how can a director with high standards like Roman, and an executive director at that, tolerate him ruining the series? The illustrious reputation of the Lijo governor has been ruined in the hands of this grandson. Seeing so many people asking on the social media platform, some people even resorted to psychological methods. This method was rather effective against Zero. Seeing those comments, Zero was infuriated. This time, even the automatic filtering system couldn't filter them all. He simply couldn't ignore them. Furious, Zero directly posted a new message on the online social media platform. Season 2 is starting. Ask again and commit suicide. He couldn't reveal the specific episode, but Season 2 was coming soon. Zero revealing that he would appear in Season 2 was within the acceptable range, and the cast and crew wouldn't blame him. It could also increase the audience's anticipation. How many people in Lijo were waiting to see Zero make a fool of himself? The moment this message appeared, Lijo netizens, who didn't mind the commotion blowing up, swarmed over. This suicide. Does it mean Zero committed suicide? Or did he make the person asking him commit suicide? Duh. It's definitely Zero who committed suicide. Right. That's right. It means Zero himself. So that's how it is. Zero, will you really appear in Season 2? Looking forward to it. Senior Master, are you sure you'll appear in Season 2? I didn't see it just now. Which season did Zero appear in? When I heard Zero was going to commit suicide, I dropped what I was doing and rushed over to watch. I'm also here to see how Zero will commit suicide. Very quickly, a few mainstream entertainment media outlets in Lijo pushed the headlines of Zero's suicide. Because of this, many members of the Renault family urgently contacted Planet Y. The Lijo governor also took the time to ask. Zero's agent explained that it wasn't like what the media had reported. He was also worried about Zero's subsequent filming. There were so many people in Lijo watching, and people from other continents were also waiting to see Zero make a fool of himself. Yet Zero kept stirring up trouble. He was so worried that his hair was about to fall off. What can I do? I'm also under a lot of pressure. After explaining to all parties, Zero's agent was about to have a good chat with Zero when he saw Zero sitting there quietly, looking into the mirror. It was rare for him to have some self-doubt. His back view was bleak. Zero smiled stiffly as he finished the call with his family elders. He promised that he would do his best in filming and do his best. Then, he tossed his communications device aside and looked at himself in the mirror in silence. 1 minute. 2 minutes. The room was eerily quiet. Handsome. Zero slapped the table and stood up. Really damn handsome. Bold and confident. His voice powerful and resonant. A change from his previous listlessness, he was suddenly in high spirits and brimming with energy. His whole body once again exuded an aura of confidence. Zero's agent. Bullshit self-doubt. Where the fuck does your self-confidence come from? Once Zero's mental state was good, his brain started to work. After some thought, he turned to his agent and said, "Go buy me a bottle of water. I want the new mineral water from the gourmet food city." Zero's agent glanced at Zero. Okay. He didn't say anything else and left. After his agent left, Zero followed suit. He decided to endure the humiliation and look for Feng Zhao to ask if he had any good suggestions. He had specially sent his agent away so that he wouldn't see him looking for Feng Zhao. Not long ago, he had said that he wouldn't look for Feng Zhao even if he was beaten to death. It was already very late. Most of the filming teams had already finished filming. Only a few nighttime scenes were still hard at work outside. Zero snuck over to Fang Zhao's dormitory like a thief. They all stayed in single suites. One was allocated based on their role, while the other was allocated based on special privileges. Actually, the distance wasn't that far. When Zero arrived, Fang Zhao was having dinner. That's right. For dinner, Fang Zhao had eaten 3 bento boxes. When the day's filming was over, he would return for supper. Zero took a look and thought to himself, what a glutton. However, the supper was rather rich. It wasn't from the cast or the cafeteria. Zero noticed a few fragrant pies. They were exquisitely made, but he had never eaten them before. Where did you buy them? Someone from the base gave them to me, Fang Zhao replied. Actually, it was a new type of food that had been grown at a certain experimental plot. There was a researcher who really liked to study food and made a lot of it every time. He would send some over to Y base, basically directly to Commanding Officer Huai. Curly Hair had recently made some contributions to the port, and Huai was very happy. And Founding Era was a hit on the internet, bringing a lot of popularity to Planet Y. Thinking back, Planet Y's transformation had started with Fang Zhao's arrival. Huai also heard that filming here was very tough, and that many people weren't eating well. Huai felt that he had to take care of Fang Zhao and at least show some appreciation, so he got someone to deliver some food to Fang Zhao. In the future, every once in a while, he would get someone to deliver food to Fang Zhao as a form of thanks. Fang Zhao took out a clean plate and gave it to Zero. Try it. It's not bad. Zero looked at the food in front of him. It looked delicious and smelled good, but one who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Thinking about it, Zero felt that something wasn't right. It was the other way around. He was the one looking for Fang Zhao, not the other way around. From the looks of it, Fang Zhao was just sharing food. You are actually quite a nice person. Zero didn't stand on ceremony and started eating. He hadn't eaten much for dinner previously. He had been infuriated by those comments online. Afterward, he had contacted his family and hadn't been in the mood to eat. Now that he saw Fang Zhao eating so happily, he also felt hungry. After eating, Zero awkwardly explained the purpose of his visit. He was here to exchange acting experiences. Although he didn't say it clearly, Fang Zhao understood what Zero meant. Zero was here to ask for a favor, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. He had to find other excuses, but none of them hit the nail on the head. Fang Zhao felt that Zero still had the drive to improve. More importantly, he had that kind of energy. No matter how much pressure he was under, he would still be full of vigor. Zero normally put on airs and acted lowly, but he had never done anything that crossed the bottom line. It was rather interesting to see such a cheerful person in the tense and depressing atmosphere of the cast and crew. This was probably the reason why Lijo's governor was biased towards this grandson. Zero got goosebumps when he saw Fang Zhao's gaze. This was exactly the same as the gaze his grandfather had given him in the video call. Chapter 311. Because Fang Zhao saw Zero as a junior and knew Zero's character, Fang Zhao did not bother with Zero's attitude that offended people easily. Being an actor is really not easy. Reading scripts, memorizing lines, attending training classes, pondering over the role, and pondering over the concept. How tiring. Zero grumbled. Most importantly, he felt that he had worked hard, but others wouldn't admit it. He felt very sullen. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to fight for his pride, he would have packed up and left. Fang Zhao chuckled. From an artistic point of view, you guys are also changing the world. It's all worth it. Zero didn't notice the deeper meaning of you guys in Fang Zhao's words. Hearing Fang Zhao say this, Zero felt rather proud. Changing the world. Yes, a critic had said that Founding Era had influenced people of the new era spiritually and spiritually. That's what I should do. Although my acting is very good, I hope to play this role even more deeply, to change even more people on a mental and spiritual level. Zero waited for Fang Zhao to give him some suggestions. Zero had placed himself in such an important and high-profile position. Fang Zhao should at least give him some suggestions, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be nice. Fang Zhao didn't know much about the Lijo chapter, especially the earlier parts. He wasn't familiar with them and hadn't finished reading the script. In the consultant team, he was only in charge of the Yinzhou chapter. Feng Zhao pondered as he listened attentively to Zero's upcoming scene and listened to him talk about the role he was going to play. Actually, those training classes had been effective. At least in terms of understanding the role, Zero had indeed improved. It was just that Zero hadn't absorbed much of the professional acting knowledge and practical techniques that the teacher had taught him. The next scene to be filmed would be a conflict between the character Zero was playing and his partner. This was a common conflict during the period of destruction, but it wasn't easy to act well, at least for Zero. Given Zero's personal experience and his different way of thinking, it was too challenging to act out the effect the director wanted. Even if he could understand the character he was playing and knew the emotional effect the director wanted him to play, he wouldn't be able to act it out. As he acted, he would be drawn into himself and the character would go awry. That was why Zero felt that he was acting well and was very engrossed. But in the eyes of others, his character was crumbling. Zero was not suited to acting in such a serious historical drama, but since he had come looking for him, Feng Zhao would help think of a way. After serious consideration, Feng Zhao said, "If you want to perform the effect that the director wants, it is not impossible." Zero's screen time had increased in the third season, but overall, his screen time was still light. Therefore, if they couldn't improve Zero's acting skills, they would have to find another way to save the day. If you are just looking at the effects of the shoot, there is a method that might be suitable for you, Feng Zhao said. Zero perked up. What method? You just have to suffer a little, Feng Zhao added. How bitter? That's not really hard. It's a little uncomfortable, but it's only for the duration of the acting. Zero seriously pondered for a moment and asked, "Will it hurt my face?" "I won't." "Speak." On the other side, the agent who went to the food court to buy mineral water spent 2 hours. Actually, it only took half an hour at most, but Zero's agent could guess what he was thinking. He didn't leave after leaving the house. He watched Zero go looking for Feng Zhao before heading over to the food court, but he pretended he didn't know anything. After buying mineral water, he sat in the food court for over an hour. It was rare for a young master like Zero to lower his head and beg for help. His agent was worried that a conflict would break out. Actually, it wasn't that the cast and crew didn't recognize some big-name actors, and they all had ties to the Renault family. For example, the actor who played General Renault had graduated from a military academy and had dealings with the Renault family after becoming famous. He was indeed capable and had been personally selected by old General Renault. Because of the Renault family, that actor would also be concerned about Zero. But because he was the main character, his duties were too heavy, and he was under more pressure than others. He wanted to chat with Zero, but he couldn't find the time. When he finally had the time, the conversation wasn't effective and Zero drove the other party away. Zero's agent lamented more than once that if Zero's surname wasn't Renault, and he didn't have the protection of the Renault family, he would have been beaten to death. There were other actors who had ties to the Renault family, but basically none of them could talk to Zero calmly for more than 5 minutes. Zero's agent knew what those people were thinking. "I'm not your grandfather. Why should I go along with you? I have to consider your emotions at all times. We have our own status and identity. Who isn't busy in the cast and crew? Who isn't stressed out? Busy as a dog and deeply affected by the character? We can't even find a psychiatrist in time. Who cares about your feelings? How shameless are you? Which member of the Renault family who wields real power isn't more impressive than you? At most, I'll suck up to the thighs of other Renaults. If not for your surname being Renault, I would have smacked you to death." Among his peers, there seemed to be no one who could tolerate Zero. Thus, Zero's agent was very worried when Zero went to look for Feng Zhao. Given Zero's character, what if he accidentally offended someone? Given Feng Zhao's martial prowess, he could beat up 10-0 without breaking a sweat. However, he hadn't expected to see Zero beaming with joy when he returned, as if he had obtained a secret manual and was itching to try it out. Something good happened? Zero's agent probed. "I can't say." Zero had a mysterious look on his face. He wanted to give everyone a surprise. On the day of filming, many of the actors on the Lizhou film crew didn't leave after finishing their scenes. They found a place to watch. Today, Zero had a scene. Currently, Lijo was receiving a lot of attention online. Zero was in no way inferior to the few main leads and important supporting roles. He was a character who was at the heart of the struggle. Of course, the actors were also paying attention. They were worried that Zero would destroy everything once he appeared. If that was the case, all their hard work would have been wasted. However, Zero was very spirited today. He seemed full of confidence and wasn't the least bit affected by the pressure online. His ability to withstand pressure is really good, someone muttered. He must be lacking a brain, another actor said in a low voice. Today, the Lijo film crew's director was as gloomy as ever. Are you ready? Just a moment. I'm ready. Zero stuffed something into his mouth and gestured to the director. Begin filming. Save someone? Who can you save? You will just lose another life. The deafening roar seemed to be mixed with all sorts of emotions. This kind of roar wasn't the kind that Zero had deliberately faked in the past. The emotions were too intense, too real, and it could practically fool the ears of veteran actors. After saying his lines, Zero gasped for air. His facial muscles were twitching, and his eyes were red. Even glistening tears were beginning to well up. That kind of pressure, impatience, and heartache could be felt from 10 meters away. The director couldn't help but give him a close-up. Surprise. Big surprise. This was the effect that they wanted. The director's expression turned from gloomy to sunny. The surrounding actors and crew members were all stupefied. Their jaws were about to drop to the floor. This is Zero? It's really Zero? His emotions are on point. This isn't a substitute wearing Zero's mask? He exploded just like that? They couldn't understand. How could this idiot suddenly be enlightened? In the past, so many training classes had been ineffective. After not seeing him for a few days, he had suddenly changed? At this moment, the actor in front of Zero was also outperforming himself. His lips were trembling, his expression was one of forbearance, his fists were tightly clenched, and his veins were bulging. It was as if he was about to fly up and punch someone but was forcibly holding back. This actor was also acting pretty well. His acting skills could even fool everyone's eyes. Previously, there had been so many problems. Why were these two so well coordinated this time? Could it be that the two had rehearsed in private? Had they practiced? When this part was over, the director was very excited. Pass. The gloominess on his face was gone. The director gave Zero a rare satisfied smile. Very good, very good. Keep it up. Looking at the comments online, he had really thought that Zero would slow down the progress of the Lijo chapter and cause the Lijo filming team to be laughed at by the other teams. But now it seemed that Zero was still pretty good when he was serious. Therefore, he still had to give the youngster a chance and some time. He could not be prejudiced against Zero just because of his past. Looking at his condition today, it was great. Sure enough, some pressure was needed. Once external pressure came, didn't Zero come into form? Standing to the side and watching the filming, Zero's agent had a faint sour look in his eyes. He was so moved that his eyes were brimming with tears. If not for the occasion, he would really have cried. It hadn't been easy. Zero had acted in so many scenes, but this was the first time that his emotions had directly radiated to the surroundings. Even though he was standing so far away, he could still feel that kind of emotional outburst. That was something that only a skilled actor could do. He had finally trained Zero. He had finally brought Zero out. He had finally completed the heavy responsibility he had shouldered. He had completed his mission as a specially appointed agent. Zero's agent had mixed feelings. He watched Zero run over and a smile hung on his face. Every step Zero took was higher than before. He skipped and ran like a cheerful antelope. When he reached his agent, he did not wait for his agent to say anything. Zero let out a long breath. A dizzying smell wafted over. Can you smell it? Zero asked delightedly. Zero's agent. His smile was tinged with despair. Bullshit acting. Zero, who did not understand his agent's complicated feelings, was currently immersed in excitement. This success had made him very, very emotional. That director, who had always been gloomy, had praised him quite a few times. Actually, This director was not bad. He had good taste. The more he thought about it, the more pleased he became. Although eating those things was indeed very uncomfortable, it was worth it to stimulate the emotions and to achieve the effect that the director wanted. He, how satisfying. That day, Fang Zhao had said that he could eat something to stimulate the emotions. For example, garlic. It would be best if it was grown on planet Y and eaten raw. The taste was stronger and more stimulating. Zero had even improvised a little and added some other sauces. That feeling, he had instantly experienced the emotions of the characters in the movie. After expressing his thoughts, Fang Zhao had suggested he give it a try. Zero himself had not expected that his first try would be so successful. It was done in one take. Just as he was feeling pleased, the actor who had just been acting with Zero came over with a complicated expression and pleaded sincerely, "Senior Master, next time you do this, please let me know beforehand." When the smell had assaulted him, the impact had been too great. He had suddenly felt dizzy and had nearly forgotten his lines. When he was in a good mood, Zero was very easy to talk to. Sure thing, sure thing. Zero turned to his agent and said, "Did I act well just now? Was it a little heart-wrenching?" But it was really heart-wrenching. Maybe it was because I ate too much garlic and sauces during my first try, and my stomach was upset. Fang Zhao seemed to have mentioned that tea, milk, or something else could alleviate it. Hey, he had prepared those things for me and forgot to bring them. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Let's go back. Zero pulled his agent away with quick steps. Zero's agent could no longer be bothered with the smell of stinky feet surrounding him. He was afraid that Zero had really eaten some dark cuisine, and if something happened, he would have to shoulder the blame. He did not dare delay, and did not return directly to the dormitory. Instead, he brought Zero to the Set District Hospital for a checkup. He would not be at ease without a checkup. After going to the hospital, there were no major problems. After drinking some medicine to buffer his stomach, Zero pulled out his phone and could not wait to share it with others. There was no internet access in the Set District, but everyone was given a phone that could only be used for calls and not internet access, and it was limited to the Set District. Fang Zhao, I really have to thank you this time. When Season 3 is over, I will treat you to a meal at the Gourmet Food City. Hey, by the way, if anyone mentions me again, just tell them that from now on the cast of Founding Era, I, Zero, will complete my scenes in one take. Ha 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 ha. Zero's laughter was especially loud. Zero's agent thought to himself, aren't you afraid of diarrhea when you talk big? Zero felt as if he had opened the door to a whole new world. Today's success had allowed him to find the guiding light for his own acting path. It was not that he did not have acting skills, it was just that he was unable to perform to the effect that other people wanted. But if he used this kind of technique, he would be able to accomplish it. On the other side, Fang Zhao had just finished filming a scene and was resting with a few of his fellow actors. They still had to continue filming in a while. When Fang Zhao received the call and found out about what had happened, he smiled. In his previous life, he had once seen one of his subordinates try a similar method for a mission. When analyzing Zero's character, Fang Zhao had thought of this method. Zero was not really a newcomer who did not know anything. With appropriate targeted stimulation, perhaps there might be some results. Now it seemed like it was really effective. Seeing Fang Zhao like this, an old actor beside him asked, "Who was that? I think the laughter coming from the other side sounds a little familiar." It was Zero. He said that the filming over there went very smoothly and that it was completed in one take. Fang Zhao replied. The other actors resting nearby all had shocked expressions on their faces. They suspected that they had heard wrong. Zero? Who was that from Lijo? The one who hopped around happily all day long. Other than having a good family background, he did not have a fart of ability and would only drag the crew down? Completed in one take? When did the Lijo team's director have such low expectations? Would the lead director agree? In any case, he just did not believe it. Do you believe it? Someone asked Fang Zhao. I believe it, Fang Zhao replied. You will see it when it is broadcasted. After Zero finished his call with Fang Zhao, he called everyone he knew in the cast. Bah, that bastard. I heard that you took 2 takes for a few matches in the Lajo group. Too lousy. I completed it in 1 take. Not that I am bragging. On the other end of the line, Barbara hung up expressionlessly. Zero listened to the doo-doo sound on the other end of the line and pursed his lips before changing to another person. Hey, Wu Tianhao, I heard that your Tongzhou team's filming yesterday did not go smoothly. You two, go to more training classes and hone your acting skills. Don't read novels after filming. Fuck you. The sound of Wu Tianhao smashing things could be heard on the other end, followed by the doo-doo sound on the other end. Zero grunted. What a narrow-minded person. Beside him, his agent stared at the ceiling with a wooden expression. Zero continued to call people. Didn't you guys often mock me in the past? Now, this young master has completed it in 1 take. Are you stupid? If you can't act, quit the cast. Zero continued to provoke people. In the past, you guys provoked me. Now, I am provoking you guys and pressuring you. The slaps you gave me, I will slap them back several times. Zero felt good showing off to others. When he was finally done, he was in a good mood. He told his agent, Fang Zhao has done a great job this time. Do you think I should give him a big red packet? His pay for this series is not high. He is really pitiful. Zero's agent's tone was calm. I heard that his endorsement fee has doubled. How much? Zero did not mind. Zero's agent gave him a figure. Fuck. How can his endorsement fee be so high? Zero, who had been prepared to help the poor, felt a bucket of cold water pour over his head. Zero's agent continued to pour cold water on him. I calculated it. I won't say much, but I can tell you that he has more money than us. He is not pitiful at all. But if you act well, when the 3rd season airs, it will not be too bad for you to take on endorsements. Definitely. Zero's self-confidence, which had just been shaken, swelled again. He tossed the phone aside and went to look at the script, researching what to eat for the next scene and what ingredients to add. Lead director Roman had also heard about Zero's 1 take at the Laizhou film series. It was not Fang Zhao who had said it, but Zero's own publicity. After watching the part where the Laizhou film series had finished filming suspiciously, Roman felt as if he had seen a miracle and asked, "This improvement is really big." I heard that it was a bit of a trick, someone from the directing team told him. Roman shook his head. Not everyone can use this kind of method. Do you think that no one has tried it before? But how many people can really put on such an effect that fits the plot? Zero still has talent. It's just that his talent is not too mainstream. Looks like there was no need to call the Laizhou governor. After sighing, Roman asked, "Who gave Zero this idea? This is really a good way to deal with Zero's personality." That I am not sure, but I heard people say that Zero went to look for Fang Zhao. After that, that scene was done in 1 take. The director in charge of the Laizhou chapter said. Roman's smile deepened. Oh my, Fang Zhao still has this ability. He could carve a piece of rotten wood into a miracle. What did this mean? It meant that Fang Zhao could still teach people. It meant that Roman's eyesight was good. Look, this is what I recommended. 3 days later, another scene. Zero, who had been publicly acknowledged as a drag, was done in 1 take once again. Very quickly, the entire cast and crew knew about this matter. After that, the lead director changed. Now, whenever he caught anyone not in form, thinking about other things, or not taking filming seriously, he would spit. Look at Human Zero. All the actors felt that this time, the lead director was even more ruthless. If it was Fang Zhao, they would have accepted it. Fang Zhao's ability and drive over the past few months was really indescribable, and they were almost immune to it. But if it was Tazaro, they would not accept it. Disgrace. Chapter 312. When the 2nd season of the Laizhou chapter was broadcast, many people watched with the mentality of watching Zero, but they were still tormented by the official bento boxes. However, some people felt that things would not be the same when Zero came out. When the time came, he would definitely be out of character. Zero's acting skills were only suitable for nonsensical comedies and exaggerated dramas. He was not suitable for this kind of historical drama with an epic background. Of course, there were also people who were more tolerant of Zero. If the plot is too cruel, Zero can at least adjust the mood. Thinking about it this way, it is actually not bad. Unfortunately, in the second season, Zero only came out in the second half, and he only showed his face every time. When he did show his face, it was in a flash. Actually, there was not much to be seen in these few scenes. This greatly disappointed the Lie Joe audience, which had been filled with anticipation. I thought he was playing an important role. Turns out he only has these few scenes. He has not received his bento box in the second season. He will definitely appear in the third season. I wonder if he will have even more screen time then. Based on my understanding of Zero, his screen time will definitely increase. Otherwise, given his character, he would definitely not be interested in this kind of role. His screen time in the third season will definitely be more than in the second. On a certain online day, Zero posted a message on his social platform, "I, Zero, have done it in one take. Tremble, mortals." Picture. The accompanying picture was Zero's especially proud face, and he had even made an "oh, yeah" pose. Even through the screen, his smug tone could be heard. The Lie Joe audience acted as if they had discovered a new continent. They were full of disbelief. Done it in one take? Does that mean he did it in one take during filming? I don't believe it. I don't know whether to believe it or not. There is no way to verify it now. Let's wait for the third season. How about we ask the other actors? But the other actors were silent. Every time they saw comments asking if Zero had really done it in one take, they pretended not to see it. They really did not know how to answer. Instead, the director of the Lie Joe chapter reposted Zero's post and said, "Very good. Keep it up." This was an affirmation of Zero's one take. This made the people of Lie Joe look forward to the third season even more. Although they were also looking forward to the storyline, Zero's significance to the people of Lie Joe was different. In the entire Lie Joe entertainment circle, Zero was a marvel. Many people liked to scold Zero online, but they had to admit that with Zero around, Lie Joe's entertainment circle was even more interesting. There was never a lack of news. The Renault family was also looking forward to Zero's subsequent scenes. They could find out about Zero's situation with the crew through other sources. It was true that he had passed the scene in one take, but they really couldn't imagine how effective he would be. When the third season finally started airing, Zero's appearance in the show shocked everyone. This is Zero? Is this a substitute? Did Zero have such acting skills? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. They must have changed the person. After careful analysis, it is indeed him. This rebirth-like transformation. What stimulated him? He doesn't even look like Zero anymore. What are you talking about? If you act like Zero, how can you continue working in the cast and crew? His acting skills are like plastic surgery. It doesn't match up with the Zero I know. I was wrong. It turns out that Zero can also act when he gets serious. Very quickly, the Lie Joe media was jubilant once again. A certain well-known media pushed the headline of the day. "When I get serious, even I am afraid of myself." The accompanying image was Zero's usual image and a screenshot of Zero's explosive acting skills in the third season. The contrast was stark. The Lie Joe governor even found time to communicate with Zero. "Zero, I am also watching the third season. You have improved a lot. You should be praised. Was filming tough?" The Lie Joe governor's tone was much gentler when talking to this grandson of his, and it lacked the usual sternness. "It was hard on you when you were filming. It was especially hard. But there was no other way. My dad said that if I didn't act well, he would break my legs. In the future, I would be locked up at home and not allowed to go anywhere." Zero didn't forget to complain and scam his father. Sure enough, when the governor heard this, he said, "Don't be afraid of him. I will go and have a chat with him tomorrow." The Lie Joe governor thought to himself. He had also heard the secret to explosive acting skills from Roman, but Roman had also said something fair. Not everyone could achieve Zero's effect. Zero's emotional outburst in the third season had probably taken a lot of effort. If the family put more pressure on him, he was worried that Zero wouldn't be able to take it and would collapse. After all, Zero was still young, and his ability to withstand pressure was limited. After listening to Zero talk about the hardships of filming, The governor gave him a few words of consolation and encouragement, and the call ended. It had been exactly 5 minutes. The governor of a continent was busy with official business. Taking time out of his busy schedule to contact Zero was already a sign of how much he valued Zero. He couldn't possibly talk for 20 to 30 minutes or even longer. A 5-minute call was considered long. On the other end, Zero was rather excited when he received the governor's grandfather's affirmation. His biggest backer in the Renault family was the governor. As long as he could obtain his grandfather's support, no one else was a threat. As for his dad, who would resort to violence at the slightest disagreement, if he said anything more, he would continue to complain. When the 3rd season started airing, the cast and crew had actually finished filming for the 4th season, and filming for the 5th season was about to start. However, there were a few days of rest in between. Zero still remembered Feng Zhao, the hero who had given him ideas, and he also remembered that he had said he would treat Feng Zhao to a meal, so he made a call. Let's go to the gourmet food city. I heard that there is a new restaurant there. The food is pretty good. Feng Zhao had just returned from the Y base. When he received Zero's call, he didn't think there was anything important, so he agreed. The new restaurant was a comprehensive restaurant with flavors from all continents. There were many customers, and the restaurant didn't provide reservations. When Zero and Feng Zhao arrived, they had to wait for a table. Feng Zhao pointed to the 2 rows of chairs at the side of the restaurant and said, "Sit at the side and wait for a while. Tell me about your filming situation." Zero, who rarely had to wait for a table, had a look of impatience on his face, but when he heard Feng Zhao mention filming situation, he got excited again. Right. I have to tell you about this properly." Zero loved to brag to others about his filming and battles. His scenes weren't that heavy compared to others. After one scene, he had enough time to ponder how to act the next. If the schedule was too tight and he didn't have enough time to ponder, Zero wouldn't be able to do every scene in one go. But for Zero, being able to do every scene in one go already made him very confident. This was the first time he had been so confident. It felt like he could trample those best actors and actresses under his feet the next day. In his free time, Zero also thought about his glorious future as a star. "I think it's time to change my stage name," Zero said. "Is there a need?" Feng Zhao asked. "Of course. I actually thought about it a long time ago, but my manager rejected it. But now, I feel that I have already embarked on another level of artistic life. What kind of artist can I be without a stage name? I want to become Lijo's top contemporary artist." Feng Zhao, that's a good idea. What do you think I should change my name to? Something special would be best if it has some old-era characteristics. It has to be rich in content, have a spiritual aura, and have character without losing its style. But I can't bear to part with my current name. I want something close to it that sounds more intimate. Feng Zhao, Samayet? Sounds not bad. What does that name mean? Zero asked with interest. A dog breed from the old era that is already extinct. People call it the Smiling Angel, Feng Zhao said. Already extinct? Yep. People call it the Smiling Angel? Yep. That's it. You should wait until you have internet access to do some research. There's no rush to change your stage name. You have to compare and treat it with caution, Feng Zhao suggested. That's true. As he spoke, Zero glanced at the door and immediately shouted, "Hey, Wu Tianhao, why are you running away?" Wu Tianhao had originally brought a few actors from Tongzhou over for a meal. After a season of hard work and a few days off, he finally had time for a good meal. Who knew that he would see 2 people he didn't want to see as soon as he entered? He turned to leave, but Zero noticed him. Wu Tianhao had no choice but to withdraw his leg and raise his voice. "Who ran away? Are your dog eyes blind?" Wu Tianhao's entourage did not utter a word. These 2 were descendants of great generals. One was from Tongzhou's Wu family, and the other was from Lijo's Renault family. It was best not to butt in when these 2 were quarreling. Wu Tianhao's good mood was gone. Feng Zhao and Zero were always used as comparison points by the film crew's director, especially for those around the same age. Although they had acting skills, Wu Tianhao could not do it in one take every time. Fang Zhao was fine, but he could not even compare to Zero. It was a disgrace. They were both from great generals' families, and people online loved to compare them. In the past, Zero had been at the bottom. Now, Zero's acting skills had suddenly soared. Whether it was a trick or some other method, the effects were excellent. Audiences also liked it. How much they had looked down on Zero in the past, they now praised him even more fiercely. They often used Zero to attack people from other continents. Wu Tianhao really did not want to see these two. Just looking at them made him lose his appetite. But Zero was in high spirits and even waved vigorously. Come, come, come. The more people, the better the atmosphere. Let's eat together. My treat today. Hearing this, Wu Tianhao was unhappy. No need. My treat today. I was here first. Of course, it's my treat. Zero refused. Do I lack this little bit of money? Wu Tianhao felt embarrassed. He had already told the cast and crew that he would treat. If he really let Zero treat, who knew what others would say? Oh, do you think I lack it? Zero was a stubborn person. What was not told, he would do it anyway. The Tongzhou actors following Wu Tianhao were also dumbfounded. They had gotten into a fight over such a trivial matter? Was it necessary? It seemed like a dispute, but it also seemed like they were taking the opportunity to stir up trouble. In a fight, Zero was definitely not Wu Tianhao's match, but Zero still had Fang Zhao. It was hard to say which side was stronger. Chapter 313. In Wu Tianhao's and Zero's hearts, they both viewed each other as the biggest stumbling block on their road to being cool. With their backgrounds, it was inevitable that they would be compared, and they would compare themselves to each other. In terms of achievements, Wu Tianhao believed that he would not lose to Zero, but Zero had an area that was stronger than him. Zero had the biased governor of Lizhou behind him. This was something that everyone knew. As long as Zero did not do anything that crossed the line, there would be someone to settle things for him. On the other hand, Wu Tianhao had a lot to worry about. Although the Wu family was still the #1 family in Tongzhou, the Tongzhou governor was too upright and treated the younger generation with a businesslike attitude. Zero relied on his backing to jump around especially happily, and his mouth was especially vulgar. Every time Wu Tianhao saw Zero's carefree manner, he was rather annoyed. Now that Zero had been dragged out by the executive director to provoke people, he was even more annoyed. As for Zero, the reason he could not stand Wu Tianhao was even simpler. Anyone more handsome than him, anyone more pretentious than him, would be blacklisted. In fact, there were many reasons why Zero was close to Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao had helped him before, and they had a few business collaborations. Fang Zhao was not like other people who seemed warm but actually looked down on him, and he would not get angry over a small talk. Of course, to Zero, the most important reason was that Fang Zhao was not as good-looking as he was. Not for the first time. Zero thought to himself, Fang Zhao is not as handsome as me. Back when Fang Zhao had asked him to invest on Planet Y, it had been mainly out of curiosity and anticipation for the film studio complex. They were all business partners, and there were few people he could talk to. Wu Tianhao's dojo was also rather interesting, so Zero would drop by when he had nothing to do. But now it was different, especially after joining the same cast and crew. It was as if the two had entered a different arena. Everything was on the line, and everything was up for grabs. For example, right now, the question of who would foot the bill was a trivial matter to others, but these two were holding their breaths and fighting it out, as if whoever held the right to foot the bill would have the upper hand. Childish. These were the thoughts of everyone present. Seeing that the two still could not come to a conclusion, Fang Zhao, who had been standing to the side, asked a shop assistant for a piece of paper and a pen. The shop assistant was curious and stood to the side watching. He had no idea how Fang Zhao had folded the paper. In a few blinks of an eye, the piece of paper had been folded into a small square. Then, he had used a pen to draw different numbers of dots on each of the 6 sides. Use this to decide, Fang Zhao said. The two of them, who were in the midst of a cockfight, heard this and looked over. Seeing what Fang Zhao was holding, Wu Tianhao flashed Fang Zhao a meaningful smile. I didn't expect you to be a kindred spirit. Fang Zhao smiled and did not explain. Instead, he said, it is still up to you to decide who will pay for this meal. Whoever tosses an odd number will pay. How about that? The corners of Wu Tianhao's mouth curled up, but he suppressed it and looked at Zero. I have no objections. Me neither, Zero replied. Fang Zhao handed the dice over. Wu Tianhao raised his chin at Zero. You first. Zero, who was about to take the dice, immediately retracted his hand. Do I need you to give me a chance? You first. This time, Wu Tianhao did not refuse. He took the dice from Fang Zhao's hands, weighed it, and twirled it twice with his fingers. Then, with a confident smile, he casually tossed the dice onto the table beside him. The dice rolled a few times on the table and stopped with the last, facing up. Wu Tianhao's smile widened. All right, this meal is on me. What are you so happy about? I haven't even rolled yet. Zero imitated Wu Tianhao and weighed the dice in his hands. Unable to get any impression, he tossed it onto the table. The dice rolled from one side of the table to the other, then landed on the floor and rolled a few more times before coming to a stop. Wu Tianhao glanced at the floor and laughed heartily. A 2. Now you admit it, right? Don't tell me you still want to go back on your word? Zero, who had been about to propose another roll, changed his tune. Am I that kind of person? Fang Zhao also said, this time, Wu Tianhao will pay. Zero will foot the bill next time. Everyone thought to themselves, there is a next time? But Zero felt much better. Next time then. In any case, I still rolled a 2, which is bigger than Wu Tianhao's. This actually made him feel a little better. Finally, it was their turn to line up. They were a bunch of youngsters. Coming out for a good meal, of course, they had to eat meat. They even chose a barbecue tray. Delicious food always changed a person's mood. The two, who had been at loggerheads just a moment ago, now started bragging again. After 2 glasses of wine, the other actors who had followed Wu Tianhao also relaxed a lot. They started talking about the plot of Period of Destruction and started talking about who received their bento boxes in which season. That era was really bitter. We were just acting, and the emotions we experienced were not even 1/10 of the characters themselves. If I had really been born during the Period of Destruction, how would I have survived? Zero had been bragging to Wu Tianhao. When he heard this, he said, I remember the old saying, one man's life is short, but 2 lives are long. Based on this saying, the more people there are, the greater the chances of survival. If I had really been born during that era, I would have definitely gathered more people. As he spoke, he turned his head toward Wu Tianhao. You were the one who said this to me. Wu Tianhao was at a loss. Wait a minute. When did I say this to you? Why didn't you say it? In the past, when we were in your newly opened dojo, you told me a novel about flying through the sky and burrowing through the earth. You mentioned quite a few words. That sentence just now was what you said to me. I remember it clearly. Your brain isn't good. Your memory has deteriorated badly. Zero pointed to his own head, then raised his hand and pointed at Wu Tianhao. Bullshit. I swear I never said that. Wu Tianhao slammed the table angrily. An actor beside Wu Tianhao couldn't help but whisper that, he said, one man's life is short, but 2 people are long, right? I think he learned it in ancient literature class. The room suddenly fell silent. Everyone looked at Zero. Zero rubbed his chin, not the least bit ashamed. Seems like it. Hey, it's all the same. Everyone looked at Zero as if he were a mushroom in the middle of a sandstorm. What a weirdo. Wu Tianhao, pig brain. Haha, you also know that you have a pig brain. Hurry up and eat something to nourish yourself, Zero said. Wu Tianhao's hand, which was on the table, moved to the side and grabbed the tabletop. Flip's table. It didn't budge. Wu Tianhao, who was ready to flip Zero's face, exerted more force, but it still didn't budge. Weird. Just now, the table was clearly not fixed. Wu Tianhao's gaze swept the room and stopped on the hand on the tabletop. His eyes narrowed. Fang Zhao saw Wu Tianhao look over and gave him a gentle smile. His other hand took the tray from the waiter, retracted his hand from the tabletop, and distributed the roasted meat clockwise to everyone at the table. Wu Tianhao was given the largest piece of meat. Wu Tianhao looked at Feng Zhao, then at Zero, then at his surroundings out of the corner of his eye. Suddenly, he felt discouraged. Why would he bother with a fool like Zero? Wu Tianhao thought to himself, bearing. There were still people watching. Not only were there showbiz veterans, but there was also an actress he liked. He couldn't leave a bad impression. If he really flipped the table, how could he still have any bearing? Zero was so angry that he almost went crazy. However, Wu Tianhao had mixed feelings about Feng Zhao. The Wu family admired these capable people, especially those who could fight. And from the looks of it, Feng Zhao didn't want to go against him. All right, I won't stir up trouble today. Then, Wu Tianhao continued to brag to Zero. Feng Zhao watched from the side and was amused. These two little fellas were really in good spirits. Feng Zhao had noticed that the actors that had followed Wu Tianhao over, although they had concealed it very well, actually gave off a gloomy and depressed aura. This was because they had been too immersed in founding era and had not completely come out. Even though they were on vacation, their moods were still affected. But when Wu Tianhao and Zero had argued just now, the attention of this bunch of people had been drawn away, and the original thoughts in their minds had also been led astray. After the meal, Wu Tianhao paid the bill and left with his entourage, but before leaving, he shot Feng Zhao a, you know what I mean look. Feng Zhao, if you have time, let's play around? Play what? Zero asked. None of your business. Wu Tianhao left without looking back. Zero still wanted to ask Feng Zhao, but he suddenly received a call from his agent saying that he had an endorsement. Thus, he didn't bother asking Feng Zhao and headed back to his dormitory. Feng Zhao also returned to his dormitory, but instead of taking a car, he chose to run back. On the other side, when Zero returned to the dormitory district, he didn't see many people. These few days of vacation, the actors were either resting at home or going to the gourmet food city. Zero was about to head upstairs when someone called out to him. Sorry to bother you. 2 minutes of your time. Zero looked over. Ah, this person is quite handsome, just a little uglier than me. Blacklist him first. Who are you? Zero asked. The other party choked. He probably hadn't expected that Zero wouldn't recognize him. He was very popular in Yinzhou and had many fans all over the world. Even if he didn't know his name, he should at least find it familiar, right? But Zero clearly looked at him as if he was a stranger. Silu had originally wanted to introduce himself, but seeing Zero's impatient expression, he decided to keep it simple. Oh, from Yinzhou. Hearing that he wasn't a Liezhou actor, Zero's attitude softened a little. My name is Silu. I'm an actor from the Yinzhou team. Silu asked. I've run into some trouble with my acting. I just wanted to ask if your method of improving your acting skills is particularly useful. Regardless of whether Zero's methods were approved of by the older generations in the industry, the broadcast of the 3rd season of the Liezhou chapter had successfully dispelled the doubtful voices of the public. It was clear that the effects of the filming were indeed very good. Silu was currently facing some difficulties. Seeing that the most crucial part of the 5th season was about to arrive, he just couldn't find his form. He had just gone to seek advice and hadn't gained anything substantial. He hadn't expected to see Zero on his way back, so he had come over with a little hope. Zero looked at the other party as if he was an idiot. Of course it's useful, but you might not be able to use it. Besides, if you have any problems, look for Feng Zhao. He's also from your Yinzhou, so it's much more convenient to look for him. You Yinzhou actors are really weird. If you don't understand, you ask, isn't this common sense? There's such a person around, yet you guys don't ask and instead come to look for a foreigner. Actually, Zero was just finding it troublesome. He was in a hurry to get back. He was still thinking about the endorsement his agent had mentioned. Besides, Zero firmly believed that his method couldn't be used by others. This was what the lead director had said, not Zero himself. Seeing the other party still standing there in a daze, Zero waved his hand. All right, go look for Feng Zhao. He is both an actor and a member of the consultant team, and he's on the same production team as you. After saying this, Zero walked away quickly. As he left, He couldn't help but lament. There's something wrong with his brain. Silu, who was standing there, heard Zero's last words. His face twitched, but it also made him even more vexed. He wanted to go over and ask Feng Zhao, but he and Feng Zhao weren't in the same company. He was from Neon Culture, an old rival of Silver Wing. Before coming here, his agent had told him to stay away from Silver Wing people. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know he had been conned. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.